the stars. There are so It's quarter-final time here at Belong Arena Clash for the League of Legends Championships. My name is Stanley Greyheart-Barker. I'm joined by Maritz Chronicler Mewson, and we are excited to bring you two fantastic quarterfinals to see which teams can progress to the semi-finals today. We will get to see the Clyde Claymores taking on the Norfolk Nighthawks, first of all, followed by the Cardiff Saints and the Preston Invincibles. Maritz, it's hype time.
I can never get over the fact how well you're pronouncing my name.
Me neither.
I want to give you some credit for that. I think you're doing an admirable job. I'm usually just not bothered with giving my actual names to people. Everyone just calls me Chronicler. Right? It's just easier. I don't really interact with people outside of esports stuff. So
I just don't interact with people in general, to be honest.
Yeah. That's kind of how it works. All jokes aside, matches tonight should be incredible. It's going to be the first time that we've actually seen the Clyde Claymores on stream ever since their incredible victory in the finals. And it's for a reason. It's not because they're not very good. It is because they are very good. Because a team of that caliber is, of course, also going to mean that a lot of the teams that we've seen, there's a lot of variance in terms of player skill. And if you have a team like the Claymores, and that's why I'm really excited for tonight. It's the first time that we're actually going to see them in action.
Yeah, this is last season champions, as you say, looking to make it 2 in a row, and to do that they're going to have to get their way through the Norfolk Nighthawks. We've got the opportunity to have a look at the rest of this draw, and we're going to see that the winner of that game will be facing off against the York Vikings or the London Lionhearts.
And then if we go further down the line, the Pirates taking on the Hunters. It's the other match we unfortunately won't be seeing tonight.
Nope.
And then the Cardiff Saints taking on the Preston Invincibles. Of course, that is one that we will be going to. But first, Claymores versus Nighthawks. And it's going to be very easy. Any team taking on the Claymores are going to have a rough go. As we take a look at the lines here for the Claymores, there's Hoff in the top lane, Patsy in the jungle, Arup in the mid lane, and Wanyuan and Chorakio.
The Norfolk Nighthawks, their lineup consists of... I think that's Cocky Fella, Harsha, Heptic Nightmare, Shady Mo, Mox, and potentially Unsinkable 28. And we'll be able to bring you into that champ select very, very shortly. You talk about how the Clyde Claymores, they're such a strong team and a really daunting opposition for anybody, Mal. You've got to realise right now, of course, that these teams, they're at the knockout stage. You make one slip up here in a best-of-3 series and you are donezo. You're going home for Christmas.
You just can't. There's no more opportunity for slip-ups. The time of that has passed, and now the pressure is on full blow. The Claymores and the Nighthawks. We see the Twist of Fate being taken away rather from the get-go for Shady Mo. Last time we saw him, he was having a lot of success on his Azir. But in this situation, they say, you know, Twisted Fate has a lot of global presence, isn't in the strongest position at the moment, but it is an annoying champion to play against, as it's just so much pressure. And the same can be said for GP.
And I also really want to touch on this Nunu ban, because that is very specifically not targeted towards the Clyde Claymores, but it's actually targeted towards the quest that is available right now because of the Doggos versus Cats event. And what it is you've got to get that greatest ever snowball faster than 1000 movement speed, travel past light speed, and then you unlock that. So they want to say there's no chance you're going to unlock that in this game. There's also the potential that they don't want to see Ewan playing that, because I reckon he's pretty damn good on Nunu and Willop. Meanwhile, LeBlanc also being taken away there from Torakeo.
And LeBlanc is one of the laners that can be incredibly oppressive if you let her. She is also, for that reason, like, has been on the receiving end of a couple of nerfs in the recent patches. And Shyvana is an interesting one because it's more of a, you know, traditional farming jungler that hasn't the biggest of impact. The once she hits those item spikes, she gets quite strong. And AP Shyvana is, of course, something that we have seen play before. Does mean that there are still so many power picks, and it's something that if you ban away these comfort picks, stuff like the Vladimir, the Lucian, the Galio, you know, all these power picks are still on the table here.
One last ban away from you, and that was the Skarner, and now we see the first pickup for the Clyde Claymores. They have their option of everything left in the champion pool, and they go for the champion that can pool. It's Vladimir.
And the Cassio is something that Shady Mo is also a huge fan of. I wouldn't mind seeing him on that as well. And the Vladimir is, besides a great flex pick, also something that picks it away from someone like Shady Mo, who's played it quite a lot as well. And we see some hovers, but we're never going to trust those because they're not what you do. No matter how excited I want to get over the prospects of, say, Talia or Shaka Jungle. And instead, let's see, the Rek'Sai is really the most probable one. Yep. It is the one that get locked in the end.
Yeah, two ladies going to be drafted there for the Norfolk Nighthawks. That's the Rek'Sai and the Seva both being picked up. And with so many jungle champions taken away already, it's unsurprising to see the Norfolk Nighthawks putting priority straight into the only champion who's not going to be in lane.
And Rek'Sai, of course, really strong early game. And the Singed, I think this is the first time we've seen a Singed. And the Claymores are just going for comfort right away. And what's more interesting to me here as well is just, it's very clear that if, at least to me, if you go for a composition like this, you're just saying, we're just picking what we're strong on. And, you know, Norfolk Nighthawks, good luck with this, because in of itself, I don't feel like what the Claymores have drafted so far is what's going to make a cohesive composition. Singed hasn't been popular for a very long time for a reason, because it's hard to slot him into existing compositions. And then the Janna and the Vladimir kind of do opposite things, where the Vladimir, he just wants the team fight, while the Janna is more about keeping the rest of the team safe and disengaging whenever necessary. And Lissandra, kind of hard to disengage against that.
It certainly is. You talked there a little bit about how Singed maybe isn't right at the top of the meta right now. We're not seeing quite so much of it. The same is really true for Janna. Haven't seen too many professional games with her in recently. On the other side, though, you're seeing three champions straight away locked in this first stage of the draft for the Nighthawks that we see a lot of. The Sivir, the Rek'Sai, Lissandra. Lots and lots of engage potential and also some good scaling for those champions. As now we start to see the targets coming out. And yet again, it's Ewan in the jungle who's getting picked off a little bit at a time. He favours these support champions. He's not going to get Ivan.
And Skarner I haven't really talked about. Skarner is, of course, one of those champions that kind of brings the traditional, you know, the QSS stacks with it, as the Zac gets taken off the table as well. And Skarner comes online a little bit earlier than a lot of other, you know, like, I want to say scaling junglers, because I feel like Skarner just stays so good over the course of the game. As soon as he gets Impale, that just always remains a threat that you need to be mindful of. And that cooldown has such a strong impact. We see the Urgot getting banned away here as well. Urgot, of course, ever since his resurgence in 9.6, now that he's got perma-purge, he seems pretty strong again. Like, Riot really did their best to nerf him. Like, endless patches, you know, every time, like, Urgot,
I don't know what they're doing anymore.
And then he was weak, and they were like, no, this is too weak, and want to make him strong again, and can't blame them for taking it out. The Jax blind pick here is really interesting, though, because this means that...
Is it blind?
Against the Singed, never mind, it's not blind at all. Although, maybe, we're going to see Singed.
It's not a blind pick, but my casting partner is.
That's a very nice way of putting it. Thank you, Stan.
Very nice.
I'm still kind of confused why you not go for the support first, even with it already being locked
Maybe they've
in.
got something really spicy lined up for us. One thing that I really like, and that is we're going to see Jarvan, and that's going to be picked up for Ewan. There are 3 bans on the sides of the Nighthawks, all directed towards that jungler, and he's ended up with something so completely contrary to all of those champions that have been taken away. Obviously, it brings a ton of CC, much like the other champions, but it's just so much more bruiser heavy. I really want to see what Ewan does on this.
Yeah, and the Cataclysm Singed and Hemel play combo kind of scares me, and Patsy is going to be able to try and get Arup to the late game, but the Jenna and Vayne lane is one that is like on a razor's edge, right? Especially against something like a fresh Sivir. Sivir isn't that strong, but if fresh lands a hook, if Ratnap or Shady Mo anywhere near the vicinity, you're going to have a really hard time being able to deal with it, and the Cataclysm is quite good against a lot of the members from the Nighthawks as well. So Yuan is going to be able to have a big impact on the bot lane, but then setting up for a Vayne Jenna early game, that's kind of rough.
We've really glossed over the Vayne. I mean, this is a champion that quite often in competitive play you get really, really hyped if you ever see it, and we're going to see it in the first game of this best of 3 series, and it's going to be Arup opting into this one. He's obviously got the Janna for a lot of protection. If this game goes to late game, it's hard to see things going badly for the side of the Claymores.
Yeah, as soon as Vayne hits that Rage Blade combined with the Blade Rune King, I think she's going to be fine, in terms of damage. She's like, even those 2 items already make her quite scary, and then once she gets further and further into the build, it only gets worse from there. Sivir is, of course, also a champion that is known for, the 500 CS dream of just hitting 6 item and Boomerang Blade slicing through the entire enemy team. The Singed pick is something that I'm very on the fence about. I really want to see if Hoff is able to get a dominant laning phase, if you're able to put out the pressure that you want to see from the Singed, because there's always going to be a late game nuisance. But if it's enough, yes or no, that is something that I need to see, because if you are not able to get that split push pressure, if Jax is ever able to get a hat thanks to some nice ganks from Ratnam on the Rek'Sai, I think you're going to have a really hard time to keep pressure up, and like Jax split pushing in the side lane always scares me.
Take the team names away from the game for a moment and look at those 2 compositions. Is there a team that sort of strikes out as a better composition that you feel has a higher opportunity to win the game? Just
in terms of comp, I'd give it to the Nighthawks, to be quite honest. But it's not a very big margin. I feel like the hard engage that we see coming out on the side of the Claymores, you have the Jarvan. It's really your main form of making sure that you're gonna get stuff started. And the combination of Vladimir is quite good, but the Jenna and the Singed, I don't really like how they fit into that team comp. And I think the Jarvan ban was a really good one as well, because especially with how the rest of the draft from the Claymores came out, it does feel like they're kind of banking on either Arup or the Vladimir to really take over that game. If that doesn't happen, then I'm quite curious, but it being the Claymores, what's probably going to happen is we're going to see a really dominant early game from them, and then once that happens, all of a sudden it kind of shifts what you're looking at, right? Because Sivir's mid game, I'd say, is a lot weaker than Vayne's, because Vayne, as I said, like once she hit those 2 items, she already starts to really power up, chew through these tanks, and Vladimir, same. Expecting if you go for like a Proto Bell Death Cap, you can also hit an early 2 item spike. Cinch is always a nuisance, and they're all champions that when they're ahead, they're so incredibly oppressive.
Exceptionally obnoxious, yes.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a Singed especially. That's kind of what he does, right? He just runs around you.
One thing that we have as well is obviously the history of these teams. For those of you who were watching the finals, going back a couple of months, we saw the Clyde Claymores taking down the Portsmouth Pirates the first time in, I think, 6 tournaments that the Pirates had relinquished that crown. And it was in a reverse sweep, and it all came about from the patience that the Clyde Claymores had. Consistently just waiting the game out, getting their champions, these late game scaling champions to a point where they just pulled the trigger, won the right team fight, and won the game. And they did it 3 times in a row against arguably the best team that the Arena Clash has ever seen. They've now drafted themselves a slightly more lopsided composition, but they've still got that Vayne there. They've still got, the Janna for the protection that it needs.
Vladimir.
Exactly, which is just going to be, possibly jumping on the Sivir's face and just going, boop, not a lot you can do about that unless you spell shield perfectly. And
then
it scares me for the side of the Nighthawks, even though I do agree with you that the composition for the Nighthawks traditionally looks better.
Yeah, but the problem is it's all nice and dandy that you can spell shield the Vladimir, but if you're stuck in a Cataclysm, which has severe late game, if your Thresh is far away, you can throw a Lantern, maybe, but it's just not going to happen in teamfight situations, right?
It feels like you're positioned pretty badly if you're stuck in the Cataclysm, though.
Is it really though? I mean, with the Flag and Red combined with Cataclysm, especially in like these late game teamfight situations, and Janna to peel for their own backline, I can see it happen. But the real question to me is, as I said, if Claymores get ahead, which is kind of what I expect, I think we're going to see a very one-sided game, because one thing that, although there is some wave clear available, the Lissandra doesn't really do well once you're behind. Really wants to be looking for those mid-game team fights once you're able to shove in the lane. And I think then you have to really go for the late game fantasy of the Jax off in a side lane, while at the same time you have the Sivir just trying to clear the waves, trying to keep them safe, because there is a lot of disengage available as well, right? Because with the Thresh, with the Lissandra, it is hard to get on top of Sivir, but once you're on her, that's always kind of the problem.
One thing I do like for the Nighthawks is they do have a decent bit of pick potential. Obviously, they've got the Thresh hooks. That was the last lock-in that was hidden for so long by the Nighthawks, eventually deciding to go for the man who likes to capture all the souls, R.I.P. Senna. But, it's going to be really important to see that Nighthawks actually do make some some early picks and don't wait the game out too long, because if they don't, I think that exactly what you're talking about, and the Claymores just essentially ruffle stomping all over them could be what happens.
And there's also the ease with which the Nighthawks can set up ganks, which something I've really talked about, but it's easy to set up for a Jax, and Rek'Sai is of course really strong early game, so it's easy to set up for a Jax. It's really easy to set up with or as a Lissandra. And it was really only bot lane where I'm not expecting to see a lot of action, because trying to gank a Janna Vayne is kind of, snooze fast, because Janna's going to tornado you. And the same can be said for trying to go for like a Sivir lane that, yes, she can shove, but she has the added security of the Thresh being there. So if anything, I'd expect that to be a little bit of pressure on the side of the Nighthawks. But yeah, for the Claymores, I don't think you're really getting anything done, or against them rather, you're not getting anything done in the bot lane.
One of the things I'm hoping for the Nighthawks, especially the Jax in the top lane, is that they've not been handed out any of the most recent Riot wristbands, because I got given one the other day, and let me tell you right now, it has some of the worst advice I think I've ever seen on a wristband. It said, chase the singed. That is the message that Riot is delivering to us now. Chase the singed. It feels like it was a massive typo, like they just missed off the don't and still distributed them.
I think that the person who made that is just a Singed player. Yeah, no, it's just like, I play Singed, try to get some misinformation in the world, just make sure that everyone goes for me, which is what Singed mains love.
Do you think we're going to see any farming in between turrets?
Some proxy, I wouldn't be opposed to it. What's also a very strong signal to me here is that if you look at the Nighthawks, they teleport on Unsinkable, which is kind of what I'd expect. Also have teleport on Shady Mount, which is fair. And
I see where this is going.
As the Claymores, you have Knocklands, which is what you traditionally would run, against Lissandra. But double Ignite, and Ignite on Singed as well. So yeah, I expect the Claymores to really go ham here right from the get-go.
I think the Claymores want to watch the world burn, and with it the Nighthawks as well. We see a fairly standard steady start with all members of each team just spreading themselves across the river, making sure that no invades go down. Small amounts of vision are being gained by both of the teams.
And there's no real reason, I don't think either team has such a strong level 1. Of course, you can go in with the Thresh hook, but why would you take the risk in the first game of a best of 3? You don't really want to have the level 1 go wrong and then be on the back foot right from the beginning, because that's going to do not very good work for your mental state. So I can understand that neither team wants to take that risk, instead just going for the standard start, top side start for Ratnap, while Yuan, she's taking the red buff, getting some help. No Janna shield there for him.
It's going to be the red buff start for both of the junglers, as you were mentioning there, Mao, and it does mean that it's going to be finished off just that little bit quicker by Jarvan, and he's going to go straight over to the Krugs, possibly thinking about an early gank into the bot lane, or just looking for the Scuttle Crab.
Either should be fine here. There is some vision for both teams in the river, so they're going to be more than aware, and I don't expect the Nighthawks to get caught off guard by that, because this would be fairly standard, level 2 Jarvan gank just after he's picked up his own red buff. As Unsinkable already getting pushed in here, and it's kind of what you expected.
He decided to help Rek'Sai with the leash, and unfortunately has paid for it with a significant chunk of his health, walking just onto the edge of that poison trail. But he is managing to get a little bit of damage back, and if we are to see the Rek'Sai coming up for this early gank, it could mean danger for the Singed, who obviously doesn't have teleport to get back into lane if he's forced out.
Yeah, Hoff is kind of all in here with the flash still available and unsinkable. Already on the back foot, they really need to respect the damage that he puts out as well, right? Because Ignite can add so much upfront burst damage. Hoff is already getting kind of low on mana and is running Dark Seal and Refillable Pot instead of Corrupting Potion, so no extra mana for him, and it looks like Ratnap will be trying to set up a gank here.
Alrighty, straight away the pings are in, the flip is there from Hoff. He's going to have to flash away from the counter-strike. The burrowed Redknapp is going to chase him down, not quite able to get close enough to get the knock-up. Hoff gets himself away, but does have to burn the flash.
And without a teleport available, he's still going to be somewhat fine, because I think that the wave was just crashing into the turret, meaning that it should reset for him, so it's not going to be the worst of times. But if Unsinkable can set up a freeze, that's always kind of awkward, or if your flash already being down with the teleport not being available, as the boots get picked up there as well. And might even be seeing some vertical jungling here, but it looks like that's Ratnap's idea. But Yuan is having none of it.
He certainly is not. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Vladimir certainly having the better time of things, putting the harassment down onto Lissandra, forcing her out of the lane very, very, very early. Shady Mo does have the teleport available. Meanwhile, Redknapp looked for that blue buff, but unfortunately was not going to be anywhere near in time to take it away from Jarvan.
And that's, of course, the cost that you pay for a gank there. Yes, you blow the flash, but you're going to lose your own blue buff, meaning that Yuan gets a triple buff start. So he's going to feel rather comfortable with that. And now the question to me is Redknapp going to be able to find Hoff once again? Because if so, then it's going to be a worthwhile trade. But if not, if you can't actually punish, as we see, a flash has to come out there from Patsy.
Really nice. Sorry, I was just going to say, really nice hook and a flay there, forcing the flash out of the Janna, already burning through those potions. Definitely a rougher time for the Nighthawks in this bottom lane, but courtesy of the nice hook coming through from Thresh, a little bit of pressure been revealed. You know what I mean.
I always know what you mean.
The pressure's gone.
No more pressure. There is still pressure in the top lane though, as we see Hoff does what Singed does best, but this time he has help from Yuan.
Here comes the Jarvan. Jack's caught very much out of position, doesn't have the flash available, uses the counter-strike, leaps himself over to the Singed, but immediately gets flipped back. That's going to be the flash forced out. The Ignite already ticking though. Will it be able to take him down? The answer, my friend, is no. Unsinkable is able to live.
And kind of awkward that I feel like if Yuan had been wanting to invest his own flash, they might have been able to pick him up. It does mean that it's now evened up. Ignite will be available shortly, but the teleport is going to alleviate a lot of the CS that Unsinkable might be missing otherwise, so he won't fall too far behind in XP, but probably a plate, at least one going over. And with the teleport, I can't see the number currently. I feel like they should have had just enough time. Maybe they were just a little bit too late and they're going to save it up for the next one. I see a big wave getting pushed into the tower here in the bot side, but there's no real opportunity because both junglers know where their opponent is, as Yuan has gone back to base. So that Mountain Drake, at least for now, not on the table.
Really, really important that that hook landed a while ago from Thresh, because it has relieved all of the pressure in the bot lane and it has allowed the Sivir and the Thresh to push up freely, whereas before it was just right underneath their turret. Now it's the Vayne who's having a harder time. Still got a CS advantage as we see the ultimate being thrown down. Ignite still available for the Vladimir. He gets himself stunned up. The ultimate available for Shady Mo if he wants, but he's pretty low on mana, having to flash himself away. The follow is there. The Ignite is down. One more tick of damage might be enough for Shady Mo to be the first blood of this quarterfinal, but no! He gets away! Just like Unsinkable in the top lane, the Nighthawks keep on living.
Just barely, but it is enough. Terrakio, they're identifying an opportunity. Shady Mo being low on mana, him hitting 6, just going for it right from the get-go with the Hemo play, because we see both a top lane and a bot lane gank happening simultaneously.
Rek'Sai goes through the turret, takes a turret hit for his troubles, but runs Hoff into all sorts of danger. That's going to be the counter-strike landing, but it's Hoff who manages to flip perfectly, getting Jax out of the way, running to safety, and still no first blood here at 6 minutes.
And this has got to favour the Claymores, because I feel like there's a little bit less pressure on them, as they are a team that traditionally has done very well once they get into these later game situations. And with this composition, I wouldn't be too sad if we see them scale up, as Hoff again and again is able to evade these ganks.
No flash available, remember, for Unsinkable, so as he gets flipped back into that poison trail, he's going to find himself in a lot of trouble, and Hofu took that ignite, didn't even need to use it, which is just as well because it wasn't available, but he gets himself the first blood of this game. Clyde Claymores have been trying for this for so long. They now have themselves a 600 gold lead and all the pressure they could want in top lane.
And falling behind against the Singed as Jax is just the absolute worst of feelings, because Singed is already an annoying champion to deal with just by the merit of how, you know, the champion works. You can't really afford to get yourself an adaptive helm as Jax, because it just doesn't even closely fit into your item buff, as opposed to, say, if you were a tank, you know, just eat that. So, okay, I'm just going to get the adaptive helm, and you're just not going to do that much more, at least in terms of damage. But instead, he can't really afford to. He needs to get to that Triforce first. So Unsinkable is going to have a tougher time, and he needs to stay relevant in this game for the Nighthawks to have a chance, because if they don't have that that side lane pressure, and if Hoff can continuously just make his presence on the map known while relentlessly pushing in those waves, it's going to be really hard for the Nighthawks to find what they're looking for.
And a lot of that comes down as well to how many near escapes we'd have as well. Hoff did a really fantastic job of getting out of a pretty tricky predicament. Then he obviously managed to pick up the first blood for himself. We're looking here at some of the gold totals, and we can see that 5... Oh, just a second, because we've got a big gank here in the mid lane. It's going to be the Vladimir finding himself caught out. Uses the pull, throws down the Hemorrhage, trying to get the damage down. Does not have the flash available, and the Void Rush will be coming through from the Rek'Sai, securing the kill onto the Vladimir.
And the heal from Transfusion just a little bit too late. Same goes for the Hemoplague. Throws that down right from the get-go, but it is not enough to keep him alive. So a little bit of an overestimation of his own healing and an underestimation of the damage. Nice gank from Redknapp there, meaning that you need to pick up a kill, and that is quite important on the Rek'Sai side. That is going to fall off as the game progresses, but hitting that Warrant enchant early on is going to mean that he can really make his presence felt here.
Interesting to note that Jarvan has picked up the Bami's Cinder, so he's going to be looking for the slightly tankier Jarvan build, happy to bring, you know, all of the CC, a little bit of tankiness, but the wonderful thing about a tank Jarvan still does hella damage.
Yeah, thanks to the Mortal Cadence, you know, even without any real items, without that traditional Black Cleaver and the Warriors Enchant, it's still quite good. Looking at the trade here as well for Unsinkable, and the problem is it's so hard for him, because Hoff is just always going to have pressure in terms of waves, because it's just so hard to push into a Singed, as he just tanks turrets, doesn't care. Redknapp shows up, he doesn't care, he's just going to run right back in, because this is what Singed does. And it's been a very long time since Singed was relevant. I love this skin, by the way. Like, look at that. Beekeeper. Yeah, no, look at the huge honeycomb.
As a beekeeper.
I would like that. You know, it's just go back to simpler times.
Retirement plan for Mal.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a very good idea. Thank you. I'd never thought of that.
Sorry, what?
I never thought of you know, becoming a beekeeper.
Until now.
Until now, and I gotta say, kind of like the idea, you know, making honey. I would go for forest honey. Because you have different types of honeys. You can go for flowers. You can go for a lot. But in the end, I'd say that that's a pretty good idea. Thank you, Stan.
So, having now sorted out Marit's retirement plan, we can turn our attention to the matters at hand. The Nighthawks find themselves just a 300 gold down, and they are, of course, scaling up quite nicely. Even though Jax has got himself a little bit behind, he has got a lot of relevance going into the late game. Shady Mo has managed to get himself an assist and not be dropped down by the Vladimir, who'd opted into the Ignite in this lane. The Sivir is managing to keep, well, relevant in CS, even though now falling 10 behind the Vayne, and overall not maybe the slightly worrying start to the Nighthawks that we had predicted.
And I think when the objective starts to go down, that's when I really want to see either of these teams start to pull ahead, as U1 is able to get tagged there by the Prey Seeker, but in the end doesn't have to be too afraid, as we see the Tremor Sense does know where he is, and this is what we were talking about, that in-between turret wave just completely evaporating, and it's just so frustrating to deal with. And we see already a sizable gold lead starting to create, or a CS lead rather, being built up there for Hoff in the top lane, and that's only going to get worse, I think, as the game progresses. And it's not really worth it for Redknapp to go, because I think that the moment that he tries to go for something, we're going to see an incoming collapse on the Mountain Dragon in the bot lane.
Well, you start talking about those neutral objectives. Obviously, the Herald is on the map. The Mountain Drake is there, which will certainly help either team that is able to secure it. And right now, yet again, is Rek'Sai, who's looking into the invade onto the opposition jungle. Could come in very, very easily behind this Vladimir. We've seen this one before, and it is yet again going to be Tarakeo caught out. The Chilling Smite is used. He throws down the Hemorrhage. The pull beautifully takes him the other way. Unfortunately, the drift not quite working out. The Lissandra flash away from the Cataclysm by Redknapp, keeping himself alive. Nice counter gank coming in from J4. He is your one and only.
That's lovely.
Bit of Chesney Hawks for you there.
Who? I think you're a lot. I think you're like, this is where the age difference between us is really showing.
I want to say that it's not the age difference, it's the nationality, but the reality is it's definitely the age difference.
That could very well be it. I still liked it, but you know, even though I don't get the reference.
Well, that's what happens when I'm 5 years younger than you.
Yeah, I know, man. You're all about that Justin Bieber.
He's incredible. He really is.
I mean, he hasn't been relevant in quite a while, has he? In terms of his music, as we see the Mountain Dragon getting picked up, it is actually huge for the Claimers. They already have a composition that lends itself so well for taking these objectives. With the Vayne, the Silver Bolts just shred through any neutral objective, and with the Mountain Dragon getting picked up, that only further makes that a scarier thing for the Nighthawks. You know, they need to really keep their vision as soon as Baron starts to come around, because that's also when you're going to start to see more and more item spikes getting hit by the Claymores. I'd be quite scared as the Nighthawks.
There really aren't any key item spikes being hit just yet across the map. The only one really noticeable to me is Lissandra having already managed to pick up that Luden's Echo, having survived in lane, having also picked up the assist, keeping just about level on CS. She definitely packs a punch right now, but having opted straight into that Luden's maybe has a little less safety later on.
Yeah, the upfront burst damage is really nice. It does mean that this is what we've seen traditionally with Lissandra, right? But in late game team fights, you can, which is also where she falls off naturally as well, just in terms of because her range is so short. It's kind of rougher. She's also not really building any mana items anymore, and with the removal of an ult passive, which granted a free spell every now and then, she's really strong in terms of those those ice floors can be really scary. But it also means that, as we've seen before, Shady Mode, it's really easy to run out of mana on her now, and the Aftershock alleviates that pressure a little bit. But the problem is that Torakio is always going to scale better than Alessandra does, and he's not behind whatsoever, right? There was one gank that went well. Retna was able to pick up a kill, but with the status quo, I think that the Claymores are going to have an advantage going into the later stages of the early game and into the mid game, while the Nighthawks at least need to get some more stuff going, because if not, it's really just you relying on the Jax and the Sivir, and their power spikes are quite far away, and with how strong Hoff is looking currently, I don't know how long it's going to take for Unsinkable to actually become relevant.
He's even got the happy little bee emote as well. He's just absolutely living his best life. He's got to be positive.
Yeah, every time. You know, just run around with the honeycomb and poison some minions, I want to say.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. Like, why is the trail blue?
I don't know. I feel like there might be a message.
A swarm of bees that are blue?
There might be like a message between, with pesticides and bees, and how we need to not do that because we need our bees to pollinate our flowers and our ecosystems.
Obviously, that's what it is. Yeah, sorry, I should have thought of that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
What I expected. It's alright. It's alright. As we can see, of course, the movement of the bees as Hoff. We're not even scared of him getting ganked, although I do feel like he might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew here. But I guess not.
He proves you wrong. He kills off the Redknapp. He says you can't hassle the Hoff. He gets himself out of danger. He picks up a kill. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, though, the hook is going to land onto Erobe. He's already used that heal, trying to get himself away, but not going to be able to, because Sivir with the boomerang picks up the kill, courtesy of all the support coming in from this Thresh, who has made some wonderful plays. Not going to land the hook this time, though, because the flash away from Patsy is enough, and it's going to get the Janna to safety, but now it is a nice, huge amount of pressure for the Thresh and the Sivir in the bot lane. Meanwhile, turret shots for days being taken by the Vladimir and the Jarvan. They managed to dunk the Lissandra, get themselves the first turret of the game as well.
And I'm incredibly impressed with how well Maximus and Harsho are playing here, because they're really the linchpin of the Nighthawks. Even though Sivir was picked up first rotation, and the Thresh wasn't given a lot of priority, but they're doing incredible thus far. Like, they're able to just continuously win this 2v2 ever since we saw the turnaround, because early on we saw a little bit of a lead for Arup. And the problem is that the rest of the map really isn't having the same impact. We saw Redknapp getting taken out there, trying to make a play work with Shady Mo, and really disrespecting the fact that Hoff had just finished his Royal Eyes. And this is what I was saying while I was getting ganked. Like, it's so hard to get excited about a gank on Singed, because you know what the champion does. He's just going to run away every single time. He's going to pop his ultimate, and he's gonna run away with just so much health that you would almost be tempted to ignore everything that's ever been taught to you, to follow the advice on that Riot bracelet, and just chase after Singed, and you never should, because if you see here, it doesn't work.
Did not help one little bit. He used that Insanity Potion, and it was the enemy who had been driven insane. And once again, we're going to find the 2 versus 2 in the top lane. Both junglers and top laners dueling it out. The Chilling Smite is going to be used onto Hoff, as the teleport is going to mean Lissandra arrives at the fight, immediately throwing that Frozen Tomb down on top of Hoff, managing to root him for the second time. He manages to flip the Unsinkable, but he straight away jumps straight back on the face of Hoff. Just who are we going to see this shutdown gold going over to? It looks like it could be Redknapp, but somehow Hoff is still alive in this fight, dodging away from the hook. Still got, oh my god, he takes down Unsinkable. I almost fall off my freaking chair. He's going to live. What has just happened? The massive turnaround from the Claymores. They bring the whole team up. They pick up the kill onto Lissandra. Hoff's a god, and it's a double kill for Terrakio. He's going to get 2 on the Vladimir. He's going to drop down eventually. Sivir now trying to turn the damage back onto the Janna, but yet again, Patsy getting all that movement, trying to get away. Looks like Sivir's going to chase her down with the Boomerang Blade. Pizzas for days. A double kill for Maximus, who's keeping his team in the game. But talk to me about that Singed. Hoff is a god, right?
Also, Unsinkable walking in there is instrumental because he wants to get the counter-strike off, but I think if he just takes the time, because Singed was already stuck between a rock and a hard place, he was in that brush. There was no opportunity for him to really get ever out of there, but because of Unsinkable getting taken out there, because he risked of getting flinged, like that fling damage was just enough to kill him instantly, and because of that the rest couldn't really get close. It's really good that Maximus, as we said here before, kind of the only hope left now here, but being a Sivir against the Singed also isn't great, because as he gets tankier, he's just going to keep running towards Maximus, who does have Harsho to keep her alive, but the problem is that even with Maximus being so strong, the rest of the team is just falling further and further behind, and we see bot lane turn getting picked up, another Mountain Drake getting picked up for the Claymores, and if Hoff can just distract 3 people, I think at the end it was basically 5 people on his own there, drawing a teleport, and the Claymores can still just pick up everything that they want. A second Mountain Drake now means that their Baron pressure is going to be insane for the rest of the game, as Terrakio again goes here for Shady Mo. And this is the pressure that I was expecting from the Claymores, and they're doing so expertly, but the gold lead is still quite tiny, so the Nighthawks definitely not out of this yet, but it needs to come from Maximus.
Shady Mode there, we saw him getting caught out, deciding not to go for the Lantern his teammate had just thrown out. In the end, it just about worked out okay for him, but Terrakio just so very, very strong, easily stepping away from multiple members of the Norfolk Nighthawks, getting himself to safety with that pool. He's running a 3-2-0 scoreline at the minute. The Herald is going to get secured. That's a 3rd neutral objective in a very, very short period of time for the Clyde Claymores, who have just got everything on the map apart from that 1 turret that's been picked up by Maximus. He, however, is now 3-0-0. He's got the Infinity Edge, he's got the Phantom Dancer and the Berserker's Greeds, and he does damage for days.
But once that Rabadon's is finished on Terrakio, who's been playing an incredibly aggressive Vlad with the Ignite,
then pop.
Yeah, and Arup is also close to his Rage Blade, and then Vayne hits the 2-iron Power Spike, and there's going to be a lot stronger than Maximus' Power Spike of just the Phantom Dancer and the Infinity Edge. And the pressure from Hoff here is insane to me, as he already finished his Liandry's Torment here, so now he's going to be doing even more damage. Would not be surprised to see, say, a Righteous Glory coming out next, you know, something else that makes him even more tanky, because in terms of damage, honestly, at this point, Hoff, he's fine.
Hoff is absolutely fine. He's got himself a 30 CS advantage over this Jax.
And it's only going to get bigger, because we see how much pressure the Nighthawks need to throw the way of Hoff for it to actually work for them. And I mean, it hasn't really worked out yet, because he's still untouched in this game, 3-0-2 at the moment. And we keep coming back to the Singed, because I said before the game, it is a risky pick. You know, it's something that if you go for it, you need to make it work, as Maximus' Flash is forced, and if you want can get out of here.
It's going to be a Arup locked down by the Frozen Tomb, but now throwing down the final arrow and turning damage back over to over onto Maximus. It's going to be courtesy of the heal. Arup is able to get that one. Vladimir meanwhile, has taken down the Rexa. It's a 2-0 in favour of the Clyde Claymores. They started the fight, forcing the flash out of Maximus, using that flash capitalism from the Jarvan, and now it's going to be the hook landing onto Hoff, but that's not the target you want. He flashes forward, he pulls Shady Mo back with him. The Poison Trail doing so very much damage. Turret shots are landing on Terrakio, but because of the beautifully timed pull, the final turret shot does not land. They step away, having taken yet another turret, more kills, and the Claymores have got themselves a 5k lead.
And with Maximus flashing at the beginning of the fight and him not being in any position to actually do damage, I would have loved to see the Nighthawks just back off there, right? Which is also why it's kind of what I expected them to do. But then Shady, I think it was Shady on that Redknapp gets condemned into the wall, And instead of just saying, okay, we're just going to we're going to fought for you, you're going to get taken down by Arup, and that's unfortunate. They handshake that fight, they go in, and they provide even more opportunities for the Claymores, who then just take a couple of free kills, take up another turret, and just keep bringing out the pressure. And we're now 22 minutes in the game, and this is the part where the Claymores start getting scary. Rageblade is finished on the team fight just now. Terrakia already had his Rabadon's Death Cap, and with the Liandry's as well, like the damage coming out from the Claymores now is absolutely mental. And the Nighthawks, this is the time in the game where they just need to hold on for dear life. Because if you can get through the next 10-15 minutes without your base breaking open, I think you're going to reach the point where Sivir again starts to become a real threat, where she's going to be able to chew through Hoth. But that's still so far away.
It really, really is. Will the Nighthawks be able to stall it out just like the Claymores did against the Portsmouth Pirates in the Grand Finals? This, of course, is the first of our streamed quarterfinals here tonight at the Boulogne Arena Clash. The winner of this game will go on into the semi-finals, and with Hoff running riot like he is right now, things are certainly looking good for the Clyde Claymores, last season's champions.
And Hoff is just an absolute monster in limit testing, which is something that people like to say when they accidentally feed, you know. But he does limit testing very well, because he knows his limits, because I've seen him, like a true Singed should, get away with health that I thought he shouldn't get away with.
Definitely.
Like in situations where I think, okay, now this is why he oversteps, right? Like now he's going to die, and he just never does. And I will be surprised to see him die before the end of this game. I can see him having a worse performance somewhat, as we see the Rift Herald getting plopped down in mid lane, while the Dragon is going to be taken by the duo of Arup and Patsy.
Meanwhile, the Lantern being used to great effect, managing to keep Maximus alive, but the hemorrhage damage is significant onto him, meaning that he has to really step away as the Herald stomps in towards that turret, already dealing down a massive amount of damage to the inhibitor turret. Can there be any continued fight, as we've already seen Redknapp taken out of the equation? That third Dragon of the game was an infernal, and even more damage now for the Clyde Claymores. You've said it yourself, the Vayne's online, the Vladimir's online, the Singed has been online since level 1, and now the Clyde Claymores are rushing towards the inhibitor turret, and I don't think the Nighthawks can stop them.
I gotta agree with you. I would love to see them go for a Baron, but why would you even in this situation? You only have 2 Mountain Drakes at the base balls rapidly as well. Hoth might finally go down,
Hoff
maybe?
goes golden, courtesy of the stopwatch. It's going to be Vladimir getting himself a kill. Singed steps back into the fray, takes down the Jax, takes down the inhibitor turret. Vladimir gets the double kill onto the Fresh and is still chasing down Redknapp on the Rek'Sai. It's going to be the Void Rush being used, but I don't think that we are going to see the Rek'Sai manage to get the kill. I've got to take my words and eat them, though, because that is going to be Rek'Sai shutting down the Vladimir, but only just so that Janna can kill off the Rek'Sai in return. Now we're going to see the final Nexus turret drop down, and 25 minutes are not even on the clock as the Nexus turret drops down. The Clyde Claymores, in dominating fashion, get themselves 1 game away from the semi-finals.
And I love the initial resistance that the Nighthawks were able to put up, but it wasn't a complete mismatch in terms of what we've seen before in the Boulogne Arena Clash, where a team just really runs away with the game from minute 1, because we see them being able to kind of match the pressure. But over the course of that game, there were a lot of decisions that just didn't really work out for the Nighthawks, right? Like trying to get a gank off on Hoth multiple times, and it's just not working out at all. Objectives being given up a little bit too liberally without them really contesting them or being aware that they were being taken at one point or another. And things like this are so hard to fix, and also show why the Claymores are such a scary team, because that looked kind of even for a lot of it. And then once the trigger had been pulled, once they really found the opening, we saw how incredibly aggressive they can actually play, because Vladimir is not traditionally a pick that you think of when you have like aggressive mid laners. But Terrakio, like, he threw around Hemo plagues like it was nothing. Every time he saw an opportunity, like, yep, gonna throw it down. And it wasn't perfect, right? Because they got killed a couple of times, and I think that the Claymores looking back at this game are also going to go, okay, well, this isn't really what you want to see in quarterfinals already, like these kind of mistakes coming from a team that I assume, based on how they look here and based on the fact that they're the reigning champions, as you come into the playoffs.
It's a team who are, this is the first time, as you said, we've seen them on stream throughout the spring split. However, it's a team who have gone unbeaten through their group. They were in Group 1 and they just absolutely steamrolled it. Now they've steamrolled Game 1 of the quarterfinals and are only a few short games away from a potential grand final at Insomnia. They must feel pretty confident about their chances of making it right now. someone who maybe isn't feeling quite so confident, he's going to be the Norfolk Nighthawks, and they're going to come into game 2, they're going to swap sides, they're going to have to rethink their pick and ban, and the first thing I'm thinking is ban that Singed, because when you see these picks that aren't necessarily the meta picks, there's only one good reason for it, and it's comfort, and clearly Hoff was beyond comfortable on that Singed. I mean, he probably shouldn't have been as comfortable as he was, because, you know, he was in some pretty risky old situations. There was one particular fight around about the 18-minute mark where I think all 5 members of the Nighthawks tried to deal with him, and he went down to so little health. If the Fresh Hook had landed, if the Prey Seeker had landed from Rek'Sai had landed, he was dead. But somehow managed to find his way into the bush, get himself a kill, his team came for the backup, and he was out of there. Just absolutely wonderful plays, but I just think you've got to take it away from him, haven't you? Surely you can't let that go through to game 2.
I don't think so, and there isn't really any laner that does what Singed does, but what I'd be scared of, as I said before, I feel like it's not just that. It's like, in this case, Hoff really ran away with that game. They're the big MVP for me, just because of the amount of pressure they was able to draw, and just always not only draw the pressure, but then completely, you know, release it, make sure that they weren't able to get anything off. But on the other lanes, Terrakio, yes, he got killed a couple of times, but once they hit their spikes, it would just look so one-sided. And we saw a fairly greedy draft pick, because Singed traditionally is not something that does well starting in the early game. Then you have the Jarvan, that is good, but the Vladimir, the Vayne, the Janna, none of which is really what you think about when you think about dominance. And they didn't really showcase dominance, even though they were slightly ahead in the early game. But then once they hit their spikes, it wasn't even close anymore, and that would really scare me as the Nighthawks.
You mentioned the Jarvan there, Mao, and it felt like during that draft phase that the Nighthawks did everything they could to chop off one of the limbs of Ewan in the jungle. But in the end, with his 3 remaining limbs, he picked up the Jarvan and still did fantastic work. Maybe you sacrifice a couple of those jungle bans, the Skarner, the Zac, the I think it was the Ivan that were taken away, and you go, okay, you know what, let him have his Nunu, but we can at least take away some of these things that just blitzed us.
Yeah, but I don't feel that I feel that the Jarvan wasn't a problem there, and I think that they're afraid that if they give you on an actual comfort pick, then it's going to be even worse. Right, like, so I understand that decision, and I think that he's going to have an impact no matter what you put him on, just because of how good of a jungler he is. So what I'd rather like them to do is see if they can focus more on Maximus, because this time Ratnap didn't really have a big focus on the bottom lane, and Maximus and Harsha were really the lights in the dark for me for the Nighthawks, where Unsinkable was just not able to really stay ahead in that 1v1. So maybe, you know, just pull the classic second game in the best of 3, try to put him on something tankier, you know, something that always does well. And in the mid lane, the Lissandra pick also not really working out, because Shady Mo just continuously impressive. Just putting on something scaling where he can hold his own.
The problem surely though for Maximus is that, you know, it's not just the Nighthawks who can have the options to, you know, change around their bans if they want to. We might not see that Sivir or that Thresh again, and all of a sudden you lose your one winning lane and things go even worse in game 2.
Yeah, but again, it's not just about the Sivir, right? I think that Maximus has shown us that he can have a performance on multiple AD carries, and if they just get something comfortable, if they get a good lane matchup where he's just able to you know, find his farm, hit an item, and then start to make these plays that we know is capable of, because he has consistently in this game, whenever he sees an opening, he's not afraid either. Like, he really commits to these plays, and is because he is Civic, can backfire in a big way, but in this game didn't for him at all. And if him and Harsho can pick up a good bot lane in the first rotation there, I think that the Nighthawks, if they can really put a lot of resources in that, make it work. But we go back to these teleports as well, and
yeah.
What scares me is that you have double teleport and you're still not able to get the bot lane ahead, even though there was some considerable pushes coming out.
Yeah.
And it's looking
when
rough
the
for
bot
the
lane did
Nighthawks.
get ahead, they got ahead on their own merit, not on the teleports that were coming to join
Exactly, and you don't really want to fall behind in the global game against a team with 2 ignites while you're the one running 2 teleports, and that's what scares me. There's definitely an opportunity here for the Nighthawks as we move on to pick and ban for game 2, but they need to find a way to actually make use of the resources that they had in game number 1, because if not, I think the Claymores are going to take this 2-0.
We've had a little switcheroo. The red side and the blue side of the map are now owned by different teams coming into game 2, as is the way in these best of 3 series. And shock, horror, Hoff has had his Singed ban away.
I'm not surprised.
No, not even a little bit.
You are. I'm not surprised either.
No.
No, Chronicler.
Honestly,
I am not surprised.
I think I might have just, like, Yeah, I would have been legitimately beyond shocked had we
Actually seen
seen
that.
again, to be honest. What are we going to factor in is, of course, Nighthawks are going to get the opportunity to first pick in this game, which they didn't in the last game, so let's see just what they're going to put the priority onto. The bans so far are staying exactly the same from the Clyde Claymores, so they're saying that no matter what we just saw from you, whether it was Maximus on the Sivir or Husho on the Thresh, we're not scared of it. Maybe we might throw a respect ban out there in our third one, but right now we want to make sure that Shady Mo is not going to be getting his hands on either of the global ultimates of Twisted Fate or Gangplank.
Yeah, and in general, I don't mind that Nighthawks don't really switch up any other part of their draft as they take away the Shyvana, just the biggest comfort pick that Rentup has. Just want to make sure that these big, in the case of the first two global champions, in the case of Shyvana, just a nice, strong comfort pick, get taken away. The Vladimir once again makes it through pick and ban here, and immediately gets picked up by the Nighthawks this time. Quite like that. I think that
I do, yeah.
Pick it away from the Claymores, Taraki having a great performance of that last game, and more importantly, Vladimir is just such a power pick right now. I would not mind a Cassiopeia pick up here because you can flex it to the bot lane, you know, if we replace that, but instead it looks like it will be going for the Urgot that did actually make it through here. But the Cassiopeia also plays nicely into the Vladimir as they're both scaling mages. And this time, Skarner not banned for Yuan, and he goes for it right away.
Two champions that were banned out in the second phase of bans. We're not going to get through to that opportunity before these two are picked up for the Clyde Claymores. They find themselves two champions that not only are they comfortable on, but have certainly got very, very strong abilities in the game right now, especially that Urgot. The Purge change... Tell it to me straight, Chronicler. Is it broken?
I mean, yeah, yeah. I think that like permanent purge is quite crazy.
What level is it that you get that from? It's around about.
It's starting level, depending if you go for W max or not, which is something that in the jungle
just
always gets done.
As you get it onto some final level.
Yeah, if you go for purge max, you get it a level 9.
Wow.
Which is not great to play against, surprisingly. Maybe we're going to see him go for more traditional QMax as well, but I feel like a lot of people have just been going WMax just because of how strong Purge at the moment. As we see the Trundle getting picked up here. Trundle, of course, on the receiving end of a couple of buffs. Frozen Domain repeatedly being made a little bit stronger. Also kind of an okay matchup into Skarner. Skarner is one of the very few junglers who is still relatively popular, who doesn't have some sort of dash available. So Pillar is actually kind of a nuisance. And the Caitlyn getting picked up here for Arup.
And that's going to go right up against the Vayne that he played in the last game. The Norfolk Nighthawks are playing a little game of anything you can do, I can do better. At least, I hope I can, because both the Vladimir and the Vayne have been taken away from the Claymores in this draft, and they are going to be played straight up against the people who played against them in the last game. Now we get to see the bans. Some respect is being shown towards Harsho. We are not going to see his Thresh in this game. In the same way, we're not going to see his Terrakio getting the opportunity to pick up the Zoe. No Sleepy Trouble Bubbles today.
I don't mind that they don't really go for the Sivir. I love the respect to Harsho because I feel like he was also really a big impact on how well Maximus was able to in that lane. It's always, you know, you kind of have to rate that bot lane together because a good support can make a good AD carry look incredible, which I think is what happened there. As the final bend is going to come through here from the Norfolk Nighthawks, and it is going to be that Vel'Koz getting taken away. Yeah. Vel'Koz, you know, he's a big, scary alien. He disintegrates life. It's just not great to be in the receiving end of, is it?
It's not ideal when that life form disintegration ray hits you and suddenly you've got those 3 stacks and all of your health has disappeared for no reason whatsoever. No, you're right. That's not great to play against. Something else that's not great to play against? Any guesses?
Janna is not very fun to play
against.
Not very
fun at all.
I wouldn't mind a Morgana as well as Caitlyn, but Caitlyn Janna does a similar thing where the auto damage, the harass, the pushing power is going to be absolutely incredible. And Janna, of course, Patsy looked quite good on that. I think he got killed once when he was a little bit over eager.
Yep.
Got taken down by the Boomerang Blade in bot lane, or in the top lane rather, yeah. Where Maximus was actually able to pick him up. And into Caitlyn. Love the Blitzcrank pickup.
I'm excited for that.
It's really high risk, high reward, right? Because you ever get a hook off on Janna, she's guaranteed that. Like, there's just no way that she's ever going to survive. And after game number 1, I don't mind a high risk, high reward play coming out. I feel like the Vayne into the Caitlyn, though, especially into Caitlyn Janna, it is a risk that you're taking. I'm loving the pickup of Ornn here, though. If you don't pick up Ornn, you don't have any initiation whatsoever. You just have Rocket Grab, and that's pretty much it.
Yep.
But instead, they say, no, never mind. We don't need Heart Engage. We're going to go for a full-on, I guess it's an all-in dive composition where you can, either you get a pick with Blitzcrank or you just dive him with Akali and Vladimir and I guess Trundle, which I don't really understand how that fits in that team composition. I think Trundle is more as a direct counter pick into Discarna.
As we wait on this final pickup for the Clyde Claymores, let me ask you a question. There's no way I can rig this one, okay? I don't know, what you were talking about in the Sunday show about me rigging things. I'd never ever stoop that low. Guys, check your PayPal. But I'm going to ask you to make a prediction. Given this composition we've got, the Blitzcrank, the Akali, the Vayne, the Trundle, the Vladimir, we saw the teams... We saw the teams standing 5 across in the river last time. Will we see the invade, the early level 1 players coming out of the Norfolk Nighthawks? Yes or no?
Yeah, I say yes.
He said yes.
I think the Claymores are going to win, though. As I see, there's sometimes in pickup bands. I think Jace is a really good example as well. It's like these champions that like Kalista that are perceived as incredibly strong, but they're mechanically also incredibly demanding. So you don't really see them that often. Well, a champion who is less mechanically demanding but also absolutely insane is Sylas. And he's somehow made it throughout the entirety of pick and ban in round 1, and now in this round as well, where he gets picked up as 5th pick. And Sylas is real strong.
Is he? I didn't know.
So, permanent priority, has hijack, and that do I need to say more? He can hijack subjugation, he can hijack perfect execution, he can hijack Hemo Plague. That's probably
hijack
pretty good.
Makes me think that someone is saying hello to Captain Sparrow.
Hijack Sparrow. Yeah, I completely understand. It's also a really good skill. In the late game.
Good skill. And look at the ultimates he's going to be able to steal in this game as well.
And now I actually kind of dislike that they banned Alistar, because I would have loved for them to bait out an Alistar pick and then give you Sylas with Unbreakable Will, and that's just an absolute nightmare. And I learned recently about my favorite interaction in the game.
Oh.
If you ask, we're not going to have this here, right? Because Skarner and Sylas are on the same team. But what can
happen? Double impale.
Yes. So you have Skarner who comes in, then you have Sylas hijacks Impale, and they can impale each other, and they just stand still because neither of them can move because they're getting impaled if they get it off at the same time, and they just both stand there and then nothing happens. But we're not going to see that interaction. I'm very sad. I would have loved to see that again.
That would have been nice.
It is not the case, unfortunately, for you and me. And unfortunately for the Nighthawks, they're facing Sylas, and that is never a fun place to be in.
I'm looking at the potential ultimates that can be hijacked, and I'm sort of stuck on one particular one that I think is a really, really scary, daunting progress, and that's the Subjugate. Yeah. Because if he takes that away from the Trundle and suddenly he goes in and he steals the tanky stats from whoever it might be, probably the Trundle, then all of a sudden, especially if you use it after Subjugate's been used, Subjugate gets used on someone and then he immediately just steals all of that for himself. That's going to be a monster with just bursting damage, AP for days, and with all the changes they did, that heal is now scaling off the amount of AP he gets, and the stronger he gets, the more he's going to heal up as well. Oh, it scares me. Yeah. It's not looking good.
No, Sylas is one of those champions where, like I said, the Jays, the Kalista are power picks that I can understand just letting them pass through, because people don't play them, then you're going to be not too worried about them, because Jace especially, I think, is the best example of people it's such a hard champion to play, but once he dominates incredibly. But Sylas really isn't that mechanically demanding of a champion, right? If Abduct and Absalom, which are kind of need to make that work. But besides that, Kingsley is a pretty straightforward move to use. It's point and click. And his lashing chains, that's something that you kind of need to work on. But just in general, Sylas is so strong at the moment in the meta. And it's also going to mean that one of the issues that we had previously was that Terrakia was able to continuously put out pressure on Vladimir, and Mage doesn't really do that. Imagine what he can do against the Vladimir with an actual perma shover, because that scares me.
One thing that remains to be seen is whether we'll see the Vladimir going up into the top lane, or whether that's going to be the Akali. There's obviously the massive amount of flex between the mid lane and the top lane. One thing that is certain is there are 3 champions in this game who have recently been the subject of a lot of tweaking from the dev team over at Riot, and that's the Akali, the Urgot, and the Silas. And from various people who I've been speaking to, the last two I've mentioned, the Urgot, the Silas, the ones picked up by the Claymores, they've almost come out on the backside of it, almost in a better place. A stronger heal, or, infinite purge. Whereas you look at the Akali, she's had that heal shredded away from her. Suddenly the turrets are targeting her when she's in the Shroud. It's just like, it feels like they've got the raw end of the deal.
The thing with Akali is that she's still, once she hits a gunblade, she's still as relevant as ever, right? She still does the same thing. She still has the same threat on the back line. It's still a really good assassin, and Akali is still as annoying as she always was, because she's running on energy, which is something that just can't be said for a lot of champions. So you can always, if you're able to actually sustain through these trades in the long run, you're going to be more than fine. But reaching that point in the first place means that you really need to master that Akali, because that is something that is way harder than it's ever been. And if you can actually pull that off, then you're going to be in a great spot. But as I said before, I think the pressure is just going to be so much.
There's a lot of potential damage for the Nighthawks. You've got assassins for days, essentially. We've got the Akali, the Vladimir that can, essentially jump on your face and murder you. But there seems like there's less protection there for Maximus now. Before, at least he had the Lysandra with, the Frozen Tomb and the stuns. He had the, in the top lane, excuse me, in the top lane he had
the Jax,
which had the Counter-Strike, which it didn't really do much, but the potential was there to protect Maximus as the ADC. Now there's essentially no protection. Maybe a Trundle pillar and maybe a little bit of zone control and a rocket grab, but apart from that, he's now got to go with that Vayne and play even better than he did on the Sivir, and with less protection.
He is a Vayne though, which with Final Hour has at least more survivability than the Sivir, because just Spell Shield just doesn't do anything. We saw there as well, and if the game had gone on longer, we would have seen this more often, but we saw Yuan just go for like flag and drag and just immediately Cataclysm, because either you force the flash or Maximus dies. Like, that's a very binary play, right? Like, you press R, Sivir flashes, or she's dead. And that's just going to keep on happening for it again, at least with Vayne. I mean, there's no Jarvan in this game, but at least with Vayne, with Final Hour, you can buy yourself just a little bit more time, trying to stay alive regardless, as we move into the second game here between the Clyde Claymores and the Norfolk Nighthawks.
Quarterfinal prediction time. Let's see whether you're right or wrong. It's certainly looking good for you right now, because we see 4 clumped up members of the Norfolk Nighthawks. They have left only 1 behind. The question is, will they spread out? Will they invade? Well, we didn't say whether or not the Claymores would, but they have already stacked up as 5, and it looks like opposite sides of the map. I've got to give you a correct prediction for the first time this split. How are you feeling, Mal?
You keep saying first time. I think that if I go back and actually watch the VODs, I think that there was more than one that I got right. But considering that, we all need some fun sometimes in life. We need something to cling on to. And for you, Stan, if it's these predictions that mean that much to you, I'm not going to take them away from you.
That's good. I mean, you couldn't if you wanted to, because I'm right. But the point is that both of the teams have gone for, clumping up as 5. The Claymores did it defensively, looking over towards the bottom half of the map. But now we're going to see them collapsing into the top half. Redknapp is very much so caught out. He's taking a lot of damage already. Has got the flash available. He's saved it for so very long. He's going to stay... No, he's not going to stay alive. He doesn't even flash. He gives away the first blood. The Akali stayed in the bush, not even helping out her jungler. She's now in a massive amount of danger as well. Vladimir comes across, but he's not got the damage that's needed. Akali looking for the flash over the wall, but she doesn't flash either. Is the D button broken on these keyboards at the Norfolk Nighthawks? Yes, it must be. Now he's in a state of shock.
I'm trying to enact shocked silence, because I gotta imagine that's a huge miscommunication from the Nighthawks, because what we see there is both Redknapp and Unsinkable basically like being in the vicinity of one another and then just getting taken down one by one. And I don't know what you're doing trying to contest as a Trundle level 1, because yes, Chomp is strong, like in a 1v1 maybe, but you don't know who's coming. And a really nice that from half to start with his flip as well, because that basically meant that Redknapp, the moment he was flipped, either he had to invest his flash or die, which is in the end he chose to die there, which the fact that Unsinkable then also gets killed is of course just completely baffles me. Like, Redknapp is one thing.
Am I losing the plot here? But surely if he flashes and gets himself to Akali, at least either they have a chance of dueling as 2, or he doesn't burn the flash and Akali just leaves.
Yeah.
Like, surely it's one of those two things. It's not, you don't burn the flash, you die, and then Akali doesn't burn the flash and die. That's not a legitimate option, is it?
Apparently it was, as we see an OT lead here for the Claymores, and last time it took quite a while for them to really hit their stride, as in the early game they were not the cleanest. But if you get a first blood and a subsequent kill pretty much for free on your Urgot, like the kill on Skarner doesn't mean that much, like it's nice for Yuan. He's going to hit his jungle item a little bit earlier, like his first stack is going to feel very good, but a Skarner with a jungle item advantage doesn't really mean that much, because Skarner is pretty much, you know, press impale and find someone. As Unsinkable is getting some pretty good trades in there.
Unsinkable does have the flash and ignite both available, but Shadimo has to burn his flash just to stay alive as Ewan comes in looking for the stun off of that gank. Meanwhile, we are going to see Pansy just taking a turret shot, but with the shield you're going to get on the Janna, that's not going to bother at all. But Maximus is going to be a lot more bothered as the headshot rips through his health. Does manage to level up, keeping himself just about able to stay in lane, but this Vayne having a rough old time.
And that's what you'd expect against the Caitlyn Janna lane. Is just not fun. Like, either Harsho needs to hit an amazing rocket grab, or you're just going to be stuck under your turret as you get permanently pushed in. Because you have a melee support that is going to have a really hard time dealing with this, while your opponents have a shield that is going to give them some additional damage as well as the plates start to go down.
Interesting. Urgot decided to go back and did use that teleport and has also burned the flash, but now he has got full health and he's happy to try and take this 2 versus 1 duel, but it's not looking good for him. The damage coming through from the Trundle is significant. The ignite put down, and that's going to be Unsinkable getting the first kill in that top lane duel, apart from the one had Unsinkable given away earlier on in the jungle. But a nice gank coming in from Redknapp. He saved his flash for that moment.
Had Fear Beyond Death been available, I would have not minded that turn there from Hoff, because I feel like, coming from him last game, I feel like he has the, you know, mechanics to make an outplay like that work. But pre-6, that's not something you can afford, especially when your opponent has Ignite, and Redknapp is relatively healthy there. We see because of that, a sizable CS lead coming out for Unsinkable, because, as you said, Hoff already using the teleport just to get back to lane there initially. We'll be able to pick up a couple of CS there. But it's going to make his lane a lot rougher, and these are the kind of things that Nighthawks need to find. They're still behind a sizable amount, mainly because of that first blood still being given up and the bot lane gold lead that we see here. This is what they're looking for.
I was waiting for that first key grab, and it lands onto Irup, and as a result he burns the flash. The ignite was used by Harsho there, hoping that Irup would stick around for the fight. I was literally just saying we're waiting for these first key grabs. I remember a conversation just after I started playing League of Legends with my friend Lieutenant Sheep. Oh, here comes the Trundle. It's going to be the pillar, but there's no flash available on Irup, but Harsho already having the ignite down, and Janna is just bullying down the Blitzcrank, but not going to be able to get the kill because the heal has been used by Vayne, saving her support. Meanwhile, the turnaround is here as Redknapp actually doesn't decide to try and invest any more damage through a chomp onto Irup, who flashes, no, sorry, not flashes, uses the Caliber Net to go away and actually gets the damage down to Irup. Meanwhile, in comes the Skarner, immediately burning the flash out of Harsho. Irup was just about to drop down, was a second away from death, and then landed the headshot. The minion damage followed the Vayne, and things went from bad to worse for the Norfolk Nighthawks. And we didn't get to find out what Lieutenant Sheep said to me.
It looked nice because the Tornado was invested there, but when Redknapp and Harsho weren't able to get that grab and pillar combo off, should have just backed off. And I understand the Nighthawks here as well, because for Redknapp, because I'm full health, I'm going to be able to make this work, but without the pillar available and you're still early in the game, so it's at such a long cooldown, you're just going to be trying and kiting a Caitlyn Janna lane, like just trying to run after them as a Trundle, and it's just not really going to work, especially since Chilling Smite wasn't available. And then we've seen a lovely turnaround, and now Irup's lane that was already oppressive goes back and gets a BF sword first buy. And these trades were already unsustainable for Maximus and Harsho, and it's only going to get worse.
Now they're unsustainable.
Yeah, they're unsustainablest, because I don't know what they're going to do.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's true. Going back to the Blitzcrank, because things didn't quite work out there, unfortunately, for the Norfolk Nighthawks, but a key grab can still do so very much. I remember when I first started playing the game and speaking to one of the guys who was teaching me, his name, shockingly, Lieutenant Sheep, and I said to him, why isn't Blitz always being played in competitive play? And he said to me, well, actually, you're just a bit rubbish at the game, that's why you never dodge a Blitz hook, and that's why you should ban it if, you know, you're an Iron player. But actually, competitive play, you're not going to get hit by a Blitz grab.
Was Iron in the game back then?
I mean, I was sub-bronze, but, you know, wood or paper or something.
Close enough.
Yeah, but...
plastic.
In fact, I'm not sure Iron was invented when I started playing this game. Just in general, not even as a league.
No, I understand. I know you're from the Bronze Age, so I can understand Iron being like a hot commodity.
It came as a shock to me when it got added as a whole league.
Yeah.
But my point being, Blitz, it can still have impact. We've seen one really key grab. It got the flash out of Erup. Unfortunately, it didn't lead to the big plays. If we see some important grabs later on, courtesy of some excellent vision from the Nighthawks, it could still turn the game on its head. It could.
Indeed, it could. And it's definitely a possibility as Yuan has the Impale available now.
Flash Impale on to the Blitz. Harsho does not have the flash available. He gets knocked up by the Janna Tornado. He manages to sidestep one trap, but with the vision there, the nicely timed ward from Janna, the kill comes in for the Caitlyn, who is now 2-0-0. Has that long sword, has the damage, the BF sword, and has the damage for days. Oh, I would not want to be that Vayne right now.
Lovely trade there from Unsinkable, able to first dodge away with the first proc away from Hoff, avoids the flip, and then goes back in. But nice trades aren't really going to be enough. It's all or nothing here, and Ratnap, that Hoff might turn into nothing quickly. Terrakio is making his way across the river as well.
Let's see whether or not we get some kind of player here in the top lane. Trundle does have the Subjugate available. He's going to step forward, put the pillar down. Hoff dashes away straight into the waiting arms of his mid lane, and now we get the 2 vs 2, but this bit of damage is going to mean that Akali gets the kill onto the Urgot. The transition of kills is there because Sylas takes down the Trundle. Now we have the straight out 1v1, and Unsinkable has been sunk by the Sylas, who gets the double kill.
Meanwhile, Mountain Drake just picks up for free because, there's so much bot lane priority that Yuan, also knowing Ratnap's position, can just get that Mountain Drake without even being remotely scared as Shademo goes and clears a ward here. And this is the issue with Sylas, is of course that makes it very hard for us to see what's going on. The problem with Sylas is that if you get these high impact ultimates, right, like the perfect execution like we saw there.
Maybe it was Sylas that just hijacked our computers here.
I think that's what's happening, because I was about to explain what Sylas is busted and they weren't having any of it.
Computer.
Exactly.
That's it. Busted our computer so that we couldn't get the secret facts. Do you have some secret facts to tell us? Do you want to risk it now, or is he just going to hijack us again?
He is very strong. He's double buffed. I think he's going to hijack it again. I think Terrakio is now going to be the absolute nuisance that we know that Sylas can be. As Ratnap, he goes in there. I don't even think he can. I'm going to be honest.
No,
with how strong he is right now, he doesn't have the Protobot available yet, but just Kingslayer, how low Shady Mo is, and just the raw damage and the double buffs coming out here from Terrakio as we see the bot lane pressure. And this time, this is what I kind of expected. You have a first game where both teams are kind of trying to feel each other out, and then the second game just becomes kind of a blow-up because already there's such a sizable goal lead for the Claymores.
Terrakio has taken over the game. He's taken over the computers here at Belong Arena head office, and it does not look good for the Nighthawks or for our production team. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the one person who was really having a great time last time for the Nighthawks, Maximus, finds himself 34 CS down, 2 kills behind, a Bilgewater Cutlass against a BF sword and a pickaxe, and completed
hasn't back
boots.
yet. Arup is backing now.
Man, I mean,
that's an Infinity Edge at 11 minutes.
Yeah, that's just an insane gold lead for the side of the Claymores, especially in the bot lane. That is 2,000 gold plus in favour for the Caitlyn.
I'm frowning aggressively.
Frowning.
Because that's kind of how I feel looking at this. This is what you'd expect coming out from the draft from the Claymores. Last game, they drafted the fairly greedy draft with a lot more scaling. The moment they hit that item spikes, they just took over. Here they say, well, if we can do that, why do we just go for Sylas Caitlyn and then make it work? I think that Hoff, in particular, is the one having a roughest time here, and Unsinkable feeling much more comfortable. But it's not really going to matter, because last game it was Unsinkable was kept down, now it's Hoff. But I don't think in either of the situations that really made a big impact on the game. Dan Hoff just completely took over the game on the cinch, but more about it doesn't really matter that Hoff isn't doing as well, just like it didn't really matter that it was specifically Unsinkable that was not really in the picture, as it's just so hard for the Nighthawks to get something done now. And then now we're again looking already this early in the game, but already looking at these big item spikes for them that they need to hit to really have a shot here, because with how far behind they currently are, I don't think they can test anything.
It feels like the Clyde Claymores are sending a message. They do manage to get the Rift Herald down just before the Rocket Grab interrupts the Skarner, and that is going to mean another turret
Rocket
demolition
Grab
coming through
didn't
soon.
hit, and then he needed to flash, and I feel so bad for Harsho because that would have been a great play, but instead all the plates go down here.
And like I was saying, the Clyde Claymores, they're sending a message here now. They've not been on stream yet. Maybe their results in Group 1, where they went unbeaten, it's kind of said to other people, hey, the champs are here to stay. But now look at this. They're on our stream. They're throwing down Ace in the Holes, which aren't quite picking up the kill, but they're still killing Blitzcrank. They're taking down every objective on the map, and they are saying to anyone who's out there, be it the Cardiff Saints, be it the Portsmouth Pirates, or any other team that are still here in the quarterfinals, if you manage to make it through to the semis or the final, we intend to win this championship again.
I thought that Tarakit was going to go for a really big play. I think instead he's in a lot of trouble here. There's no Blastcon available.
Oh, the Blastcon not there, and the life of Tarakio is forfeit. That's a shutdown by the Akali.
That's big.
Onto the Silas. It's big, but it's just not big enough when at 14 minutes you have got yourself a 6,000 gold deficit.
No, that is correct. As Ratnap is going to try and catch a Rube out here. He's able to just barely wiggle his way through that turret with the 90 caliber nat, but still needs to invest. The flash show, nice play there. And we see again, there are these moments from the Nighthawks that it looks like they are able to put some pressure out, but in the end, the Claymores are just getting the favourable trades every single time. 3 turrets up now at 14 minutes. All these turrets were taken down pre-plates dropping.
Oh, so much gold.
So much gold, and it's not like usually where, you know, because I love, like, if you're behind in turrets you can pick up all the ambient gold, but instead there's no more ambient gold because those plates are gone. You can still pick up the turrets, but the plates never returning. If
we can bring the gold lead back up again, I think that we just saw a 3,000 gold lead for the Caitlyn.
Yes.
A 1,500 gold lead for the Silas, fair enough, he did just get himself shut down. But then in the jungle there's a 1,000 gold lead. In the top lane there's actually a slight deficit.
Yeah,
Akali having a nice time of things.
It's like 400. This is the problem in a situation where these teams are even. That's nice, you know, 400 gold lead for your Akali against the Urgot. That's okay. That's something you can work off. But that is not the case because the rest of the team is just so far behind. And I love what the Nighthawks try to go for here because it is a really like a sign of confidence. The Blitzcrank, you know it's all in, but the Vayne pickup, even with the Caitlyn and everything still available, it's a risk that you're willing to take. They go for it, but it just doesn't work out.
The headshot, the fear beyond death, and that is going to be Maximus just absolutely obliterated. Only the second death in this game, but we can just see how far behind that Vayne is, not even able to complete the Blade of the Rune King on this return. Forced return as it may be to the base. Things have been going from bad to worse for the Nighthawks for some time, but they do manage to create themselves a nice channel from the Urgot, managing to step himself away, throws out the Debengu, saying, actually, I think that was Top Hat Penguin, much nicer than Debengu, you know, just to say, you know what, I got the skills, I'm able to dodge out from even your game-altering Rocket Grab. Meanwhile, however, Akali is going in this game. Unsinkable, who had the roughest of times as Jax in the last game, is now 4-2-0 on the Akali and feels like one of the final hopes of the Norfolk Nighthawks in this quarterfinal.
But the split push pressure that Akali is kind of negligible, and they're still all outer turrets up here. So realistically, if there will be a Baron here, which is not because it's 60 minutes, even though it feels that way, with 2 Mountain Drakes down, the Climbers, even though the Climbers even though they don't have the best composition for it, could easily even, you know, go for a Baron. But instead, they just have to give up a teleport. Really good play from Unsinkable, but it feels like it's just a drop on the hot plate. Like, it sizzles, and it might look good, but in the end, it's not going to be enough. They need more of these moments. They need to form a tidal wave somehow. And looking at the composition, we see now the Proto Belt is finished, now the Blade of the Rune King is finished, and maybe that's going to be enough. There's also, in terms of wave clear, not that much for the Nighthawks. So if there ever is a Baron picked up for the Claymores, I don't think they're going to make it through, because everything that they have is short range. Like, they're just not going to be able to hold up against the siege.
The gods of RNG have not been kind to the Nighthawks in this game. Double Mountain Drake in both games. Infernal Dragon folded up in the last game. I believe I didn't quite notice if that was a Mountain or an Infernal coming up this time. But either way, it's bad news bears for the Norfolk Nighthawks, and the Claymores will have themselves an opportunity to rip through the Baron should we get to 20 minutes.
And you know, you don't have a Kai'Sa or a Vayne or something of the sort, but 2 Mountains are about as good as we see the Black Lady being finished out on Hoth, and with the Warhammer also building towards his next item. Well, I think maybe a Dust Dance, but he can go a couple of ways with that, still a little bit early to tell. Lichbane about finished for Torakio, who's going to be a lot stronger then. And Unsinkable needs to come up Yuchi. They need to somehow find a team fight, get a really good Hemo Plague rather of, and then maybe catch someone out initially. Like Harsho has the Rocket Grab available, and that's still a possibility. But if I see Patsy just moving into your jungle like this, I don't think the Claymores are really scared.
Harsho and Maximus may find themselves on the wrong side of the wall here. It's going to be the grab actually picking up in Root. There is the flash available. The flash was not available, and as a result, Vayne getting that kill. Maximus taking down the Caitlyn, and without the Infinity Edge Kate on the table, it does prevent any further push onto this inner turret.
And this is basically a win condition as well as the Nighthawks. Like for now, just Harsho, find the rocket grabs. Just keep getting those.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, exactly. Because the siege without the Caitlyn is actually quite poor. Unless they can get Hoff right on top of the turret. But then situations like this, you can't have them.
Shadimo forced to use that pull so very, very early. Immediately impaled. It's going to be Janna actually getting her first kill of the game. Deathless so far. It's going to be Patsy getting one for the team. And as a follow-up, Trundle was able to take down the Silas, who actually is not having quite the impact he would want to. There was a dash away from Unsinkable. The fear beyond death not quite being channeled onto him. And at the end of the day, Janna with yet another kill. Patsy styling it out on the Akali. I realise now, having just seen the chain flying across screen, the Fear Beyond Death hadn't been channeled, but it certainly would have been a kill for Hoff had he used it. Instead, it whips badly, and no further kills will be picked up in this fight. But again, the Nighthawks are sent running with their tails between their legs.
And even when it looks good for the Nighthawks, the Claymores eventually turn it around, and that's what really worries me, because Unsinkable looked like it was a nice play. They're able to get away with just a sliver of health, but Patsy, of all people, the Janna flashing after you and like getting that final auto elf and being like, nope, you're not getting away. Not having any of it Unsinkable. And that just gotta feel bad. I loved how they played that team fight though, because Terrakio got really over eager, and going from 202 to 232, it's not the greatest, but it's understandable, because with Silas, especially if the perfect execution is available for you, as we saw there, because I think he's just stolen those in team fights, so he's just, I'm going to go in every single time. If he would go for something like you say to subjugate the Hemo Plague, the final hour, I'm not even going to consider Blitzcrank Ultimate, because that's just not going to do enough if you have all these other options on the table. The third dragon gets picked up here, third Mountain Drake for the Claymores, and Baron is just now spawning.
They'd literally taken a second before Baron spawns, so wonderful timing. The slightest pick, the slightest lack of vision for the Nighthawks, and it could be the Baron, it could easily be the game picked up by the Clyde Claymores. And they try to take this series 2-0. They take themselves the inner turret, they still have a few minions, but they decide they don't want to continue this push. They got what they came for, and they lead through the red side jungle.
You know, just going to catch that wave and bob. Try to get a push on there, because as long as Kayla's alive, as long as you're able to dodge those hooks, because this is something that they went for with the composition that they got. There's no hard engage. It's just a Blitzcrank, unless Shadimo can get a big teleport off and like come in with a flank and a Hemo Plague. That's all you really have, which is fine if you can hit the hooks. But I think that after that previous hook, that Arup is going to play a lot safer. And if the Claymores play this well, they should be able to cleanly close out this game with the lead that they have. And it's really up to the Nighthawks to try and find any cracks in the armor. As soon as the Claymores try to step forward a little bit too much, you see how much they respect like the flash rocket grab here as well.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense. With no minions around, the Claymores are going to step back as the Nighthawks continue attempting to clear out the vision in their jungle. They've done their very best trying to play the vision game, but it's so very difficult when the Clyde Claymores have the lead they have. It is 7,000 gold. 21 minutes in, and with this triple Mountain Dragon, there is so much danger of Baron going down so very quickly.
And if all waves are pushed in and there's no inner turrets left available, might as well go for it, right? Because I mean, you can go for bot, which is kind of nice, but you have teleport available for Hoff just momentarily, so he can join any fight as well. I think we're going to see a reset now as Arup hits 3 items at 22 minutes and now has a rapid fire cannon, a static ship, and an Infinity Edge, and that's super scary. Terrakio's gonna... there we go, I was about to say, like, it's probably about to finish his Lich Bane as he gets back and finishes it, right? Glory and Yuan as well. And now they're also hitting so many of the item spikes, it looks like Hoff will be going for the Daft Stance, but they don't really need it. He can, worst case, he could just go back, pick it up, and teleport in as well. The Bramble Vast... to make sure that Shadymon and Ratnap don't heal too much, and it's just going from bad to worse for the Nighthawks.
Go back to the champ select, look at that little game of anything you can do, I can do better. Well, it turns out the Nighthawks, maybe they couldn't quite, because you look at the Vladimir, this time in the game last time, he had a Rabadon, so not even building towards it this time because he's not managed to get ahead, as we see the flash for flash trade of Skarner and Vayne. You look at the Vayne from the last game, it definitely had a Bork and a Guinsoo's by this point. It's not even close to that at this point, as we see the Claymores turning their attention towards the big purple worm.
Can't blame them. I think what's going to happen is going to see the Nighthawks try and contest, and then they get taken down, and then the Claymores actually get it. That seems to be the smartest way to do it, as they're making their way there, and Terrakio is doing his best. Teleport comes in through now, but 3 Mountain Dragons.
And the Baron is gone. Skarner securing that one. Now the fight is going to start. Silas dashing in. It's going to be Harsha, the first victim, as he falls to a Caitlyn shot to the face. The backwards fight is working out very, very well for the Claymores. They managed to pick up 3 kills, only losing Caitlyn in the process. Now chasing down the Vladimir, who's doing what he can, but he has to flash away from the Dasher's Hoff, who slows him down. The pool is there for Shadymon, but he's just running them into the unsinkable one. Shadymon, 1 shot away from death. Can he live? Yes, for now, but not anymore, because Skarner chases him down. And now with Baron empowered minions, it's going to be Patsy and Terrakio taking down the first inhibitor turret of this second game of the series. Unsinkable is here doing his very best to defend. The ultimate is going to be stolen. The hijack coming in. In goes Terrakio on the Silas. Down goes the Akali. Down goes the inhibitor. This is going to be the series. The Clyde Claymores, last season's champions in that infamous reverse sweep of the Portsmouth Pirates, are going to take this series. Just maybe not quite yet, because everyone's alive. They fooled me. Gotcha.
I was with you as well. I thought that they were going to go for the end push there, but also no minions available yet. They do have some Baron minions, but you can also just wait for an inhibitor wave as they pick up another free dragon, because there's nothing that the Nighthawks can do now. And even with 3 mountains, I gotta be honest, I didn't expect the Claymores, with the composition that they have, to actually be able to do it before the Nighthawks can even get there. But yeah, 3 mountain dragons, it's shown why it's so strong, even if you don't have a single health percent shredder. You know, like traditionally the Vayne, the Kai'Sa, they are like these picks that are known for doing Baron so fast. You have a Caitlyn, it's just crit damage, but even then, you chew through it so fast. You pick up the Baron, and they barely lose any health as well, right? Because they have Patsy able to keep everyone up. They have Yuan, who is just incredibly tanky, and then the team fight just is a blowout win as well.
It certainly was. I mean, Aruf did drop down, but at the end of the day, it really was quite inconsequential. Maybe if the ADC had left, that would have been the end of the game. I do have to apologise to the Nighthawks, because I really thought that was the end. I was writing their obituary, but actually they have stayed alive. They have got a sliver of hope still in this game, and a lot of that hope is on Unsinkable. He did drop down after his ultimate was stolen there, and we are going to see the Cloud Dragon going as well.
A non-optimal dragon.
Yeah, well, it's going to make them even speedier, but
it's good for Yuan.
But we see
he's already very fast.
He's pretty speedy, actually, and he's certainly going to be looking for even more plays as he tries to get those impales. But Unsinkable, he's pretty much the last hope of his team right now. He's got to assassinate the right targets pretty much instantly.
He just has a Gunblade at 25 minutes. Like, he has just a Gunblade. I can't really... Now he picks up the Oblivion Orb, and he already had the Seeker's Arm Guard as well. And it's not against Unsinkable. It's just... Yeah. It is a sign of how far the Nighthawks are behind in this game.
Oh, the rocket grab lands on Skarner. I'm not entirely sure that's the target you want, because straight away the Impale is going to go onto the Skarner, onto the Trundle, but he uses Subjugate, and Akali is able to take down the Skarner. Caitlyn meanwhile finishes off the turret, but Vayne finds Caitlyn. That's far more important. Janna does manage to take down the Vayne, and Silas goes in, finds himself a double kill onto the Blitzcrank and onto the Trundle. Only one alive, and that is Shadymon. He has bitten the dust, as has the Akali, who had escaped until then. That is the almost clean ace, the triple kill for the Silas, and the end of the game. Guess what? I said it once, I'll say it again. The Clyde Claymores are your champions from last split, and they are here to stay. This time they will close the game out, taking the series 2-0 against the Norfolk Nighthawks.
And the Nighthawks, especially in Game 1, and a memorable showing. And it's kind of unfortunate that, you know, you come out of your groups and you're pretty, you know, you have had a really good showing in the group stages, and you come in and you see, you're like, oh, we're against the current champions, and then you have game number 1, you're like, okay, we could maybe turn it around, and then the draft comes out and you just see the early game dominance, you see the Silas, you see the Caitlyn, and I love that they went for a risk, because I feel like after game number 1, if they'd just gone for a really basic draft again, I don't feel like it would have made a difference. Instead, Harsho on the Blitzcrank did his best, but it was just too much. There was too much pressure. Unsinkable already also having a great performance, but in the end, the Claymores, like you said, they share what they're the current reigning champions.
Somewhere out there, possibly in the near future, the York Vikings or the London Lionhearts, whoever has won that quarterfinal, will be watching back this stream, and they'll be watching the way that the Clyde Claymores played in this game, and they'll go, we got to face them in the semi-final
That's
next
not
week.
good.
Big yikes.
Yeah, that's not great, especially that second game. Like, first can be a bit okay, because there's not only that. The Nighthawks look a little bit worse in game number 2 because there was so much pressure on them. But the Claymores also looked better, and that we saw less mistakes than that we saw in game number 1. I think that them being a little bit cocky was still a recurring theme, because Unsinkable, being able to pick up multiple solo kills, we saw disrespect to the rocket grab, and these are not mistakes that they made continuously, because then I think that the Nighthawks might have had a chance to come back. But you can't afford something like that against as you get higher and higher. So those are what the Lionhearts and the Vikings are going to look towards as they prepare for the semis.
And message out there to the Vikings and the Lionhearts: don't make the same mistake that the Nighthawks made in Game 2, and save your flash for the finals. You need it now. And
also ban Singed.
Also ban Singed.
Hit the first.
And if you don't ban Singed, don't chase the Singed. Those Riot wristbands are all wrong. Something, however, that is all right is that we are going to bring you another quarterfinal this evening, another best of 3 series. This time it will be between the Cardiff Saints and the Preston Invincibles, and we're bringing you that after a short break.
I was a big traditional sports player when I was younger. I have an injury, which means I can't do this anymore, and it sort of fulfills that team aspect for me, and I really enjoy gaming from a young age anyway. My name's James Cowling. I play for Vista Strugglers, and my favourite game is League of Legends.
I've always played competitive games. I started at Call of Duty and went through to play CSGO. And when I started playing League, I just wanted to get better and needed to test myself. My name is Jermaine. My tribe is Bristol Smugglers. My favourite game at the moment is League of Legends. For the most part, currently I'm just coaching, but when I do play and sub in, I play jungle.
As a sort of big team sports player, I really enjoy being part of the competition of the Clash. I'm really looking forward to representing Bristol Smugglers and helping the team out get some victories as well.
Been going, I think, for 4 seasons in a row now, and I've enjoyed it every time. Whether the seasons I didn't directly play, I was just there just to enjoy the atmosphere and just watch them happen. It's really cool. It's quite nice to kind of grow friendships between the different tribes and even rivalries.
You come down, you'll meet some really nice people who are easy to talk to, similar sort of interests, which you don't always get to meet up to at sort of school and standard activities. So just come down and enjoy yourself. It's the most important thing.
feeling some type of way. I wish I heard you say that maybe what I'm feeling isn't real and the ceiling is falling as my voice is calling for that feeling again. Watch me try to understand, but I can't possibly know. You make me feel alive. You make my lungs feel alive. apology. Still everybody's mad at me. Can't react to my body 'cause it's begging me to. Begging me to. You will see just how perfect I
In the last clip of that intro trailer, you saw one of the trophies being lifted for the Arena Clash, and that is what these two teams we're about to see are fighting it out for. We are going to be bringing you straight into the action of the third game of this best-of-3 series, because the Preston Invincibles took Game 1 against the Cardiff Saints, who immediately retaliated, ending Game 2 with a phenomenal play, which if you want to see, you'll have to follow us on Twitter and tune in extra early next week.
You're just going to tease it like that?
Absolutely. Massive
Giving
tease.
no info. But you really do want to see this play. But I'm just... I feel like it's kind of unfair that you're not... Can you give us a little hint, Stan? A little hint.
There's a lot of death involved.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Alrighty, what I can bring you is lots of action coming into Game 3, because this tie is balanced. It is absolutely on a knife edge as both of these teams try to secure themselves a semi-final slot where they will face off against either the Portsmouth Pirates or the Humber Hunters.
Got to be honest, I'm kind of scared for both teams. Because
the Humber Hunters could really wreck them.
Well, we don't know the score yet, if I'm not mistaken.
Of course not. No.
But I would, personally give a slight edge there to our Pirates as we see the Cassiopeia then come in there.
The Portsmouth Pirates, of course, they're 5 times champions. People are certainly expecting them to make their way all the way through to the final, but they've got to overcome the Hunters, and they'll also, if they have won that, have to overcome the winner of whoever takes this series.
And this one is really hard to call, as it always is the case with ones. And more importantly, both at least the second game went on for quite long as well. And that's always kind of spooky if it's not a clean one-sided game one way or the other. To go into that and knowing that there were a couple of moments that didn't look as good as we might want to see, as we see the Morgana again taken away there. And a lot of power picks off the board here, stuff like the Vladimir, the Lysandra are still open, so there's still quite some. And Cardiff Saints just again a blind big Vayne.
Well, no spoilers. Well, slight spoilers. But that play I was talking about, it featured a lot of death, and it featured a lot of Vayne as well. And it was the Cardiff Saints who were playing it. Of course, they did take the win in that game, and straight away they have the faith in Won Yuan that he's going to be able to use that champion to great effect again. He's going to be going up against a Sona, something we've not seen in the bottom lane for a while.
I'm very confused.
I'm even more confused.
My face shows my confusion as well. So I'm expecting Sona mid lane, possibly, because I think that Taric of the two is one that you can't really...
I used to play Taric jungle.
Yeah, okay, but is this Taric jungle? Or all Taric jungle?
It was all Taric jungle.
Because all Taric jungle, legitimately, I'd be like, okay, I can understand that. With this Taric, I don't think his skill set just doesn't allow for it anymore.
Okay.
Sona, the thing with Sona is that I think her win rate becomes absolutely crazy past 20-25 minutes when she gets the mana to just keep cycling through her spells. But getting there is really hard. I can't emphasize that enough, because she is arguably the squishiest champion. She has no escapes available to her whatsoever, and on the Cardiff Saints we don't see that many surprises. I think Housley's comfortable in the Nami, and Vayne Nami is quite a nice matchup as well. You have the bubble, you have the condemn, a lot of CC, you have some sustain, which Vayne always likes. You see the Jarvan getting locked in there, but I'm seriously wondering where Sona is going to go, or whether it actually is going to be like a Taric in the solo lane. But I imagine it's got to be mid lane Sona.
It's hard to disagree with you, kind of weighing up the facts as they are. The eagle-eyed amongst you might have spotted that Niangi just a moment ago had teleport and ignite hovered instead of teleport and flash. The reason for that is in the last game he was on the Hecarim and had a really, really rough time against it. Went up against Akali in the top lane, and for lack of a better term, fed his ass off. And meanwhile, the Akali, actually, he had the rough time against, has been banned away. So that's not going to get repeated up in the top lane. And now we're seeing more and more things priority, both towards the mid lane and the top lane, because those solo lane pickups haven't been there for the Cardiff Saints. The LeBlanc and the Aurelia both banned away, and it looks like this is going to be a little bit of a hover. They're playing with our emotions. Please be the Teemo. It's not going to be the Teemo. Instead, a different Yordle, a ninja Yordle, Kennen.
And loving the setup here, like Preston Invincibles clearly going for a wombo combo situation where you can have either Jarvan or Kennen dive in initially, and I think especially if what I'm assuming is going to be Jacko engages, although he can also go to Niangi free. Engages with the flag and with the Cataclysm, you lock him in place, then Kennen comes in, and I've been talking about the Chase before. It's a power pick, it's incredibly strong, although I gotta say that the matchup into the cannon isn't necessarily as good as all of the other ones, but it's still a lane dominant pick that can kind of, if you have feel like you have a mechanical edge, can really outplay your opponent even on the cannon. Is looking quite strong. Cardiff Saints, just a really strong meta picks to round it out. Lissandra again making the way through the entirety of picks and bans there, and the composition from the Saints here, a lot of CC. I want to see some cleanses from the Invincibles.
It might well be necessary. We do see 2 of the 3 leaders of the tribes of the Freljord, Sejuani and Lissandra, are going to lead the Cardiff Saints troops into battle. Only Ash
I want to see what the final pick is.
Well, you're going to get to see. Be patient. Be patient, Mal. You're going to get to see a Zoe, Sleepy Trouble Bubble. So, I'm assuming this is Kennen Sonar ADC? Kennen ADC? Jarvan ADC?
So
Taric ADC?
It actually,
Zoe ADC?
It is actually...
Mao ADC?
It's Sona AD
Greatheart
carry.
ADC?
Or it's AP Sona, and they're going to just try and get through that early game and then scale her into mid game as like an AP carry. But then, like, I'm going to treat it that way, like, because if it's AD Sona, then I have no clue what's happening, and I really can't make a sound judgment call. If it is actually AP Sona, which I think will make a lot more sense, then what we're seeing here is fairly heavy on the AP damage, because Jarvan past the early game is not really going to have any sensible, AD damage compared to what we see on the other side. And then Jace is going to have a rough time, but Sejuani is just going to build so much MR, and like once she finishes a Warmox and say a Spirit Visage, they're just never going to get through her. So if it actually is an AD or AP Sona rather, I think definitely a big late game lead for the Saints. But if not, the mid game from a Preston Invincibles team with Zoe, Cannon, Jarvan is quite scary.
So there's a few things.
Sona as well.
There's a few things here. I mean, Mal, don't forget we have to factor into the fact that nowadays we have things like Nico AD on hit is a thing. I mean,
but
maybe
she has an on hit passive.
Yeah.
Like it makes
more sense.
It makes
I agree.
sense to me, Stan. I like it came out of nowhere, but there was logic to it. But if this actually is because even with Cannon when he was an AD carry, even with Twist of Fate, like these really off meta AD carry picks, like there was a reason.
Yes.
But with Sona, maybe it's the unpowered autos. Maybe she gets an Infinity Edge and like she gets an unpowered Q auto off, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and she demolishes someone.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Especially if she takes Demolish Rune, might demolish towers. Possibly. One thing that I'm also noticing on the other side of the map, we're going to see the Vayne and the Nami opting into the Flash Barrier, Flash Heal combo. Something that we haven't really seen prioritised ever since the Ardent Sensor changes came in. But Nami is obviously opting to take the heal for herself, feeling that's her best opportunity to keep this Vayne safe in this game. Cardiff Saints and the Preston Invincibles. This is game 3 of the best of 3 series. Only one of these teams gets to progress over to the semi-finals, where either the Portsmouth Pirates or the Humber Hunters will be waiting for them. Whoever loses is going home after this game. And if you've ever got something, whether you want to call it a cheese tactic, a spicy tactic, or pure out genius tactic, or terrible tactic, whichever one it ends up being, saved up, this is the time to use it, and the Preston Invincibles are coming out fighting.
But I don't get why you would first pick the Sona in this composition, because that is the thing that really doesn't make sense to me from a drafting perspective. I so want to talk to like someone from the Preston Invincibles after what the thought process behind it was.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that with the Sona, I can only assume that you first pick it and then have people, because you pick it as well in conjunction with the Taric, right? Mm-hmm. And
you show your hand immediately.
Yeah, you like if you just pick the Sona that think it's going to be support, but so I assume that they want to make them think it's about the mid lane Sona, presumably, or top lane Sona. If you want to play, maybe it's just the confusion that they try to evoke. But I feel like if you just do the exact same draft with your last pick Sona, because now the hard engage for the Saints, like a shock blast from Jace, Sejuani diving on top of her, Lissandra diving on top of her, all of these things are just absolutely terrifying to face. And knowing you're up against the Sona, you're going to feel even more comfortable drafting that hard engage as the Saints, because you know there's someone that's going to be so easy to punish.
I agree with you, but at the same time the confusion clearly did work, because here on the desk we both weren't sure what it was going to be. Twitch chat, they thought it was going to be a mid-Sona, and we've all been proved wrong.
Saints have a really good draft,
they have a
regardless.
Great draft. Yeah.
Like they have Jace, which based on how I dented before in the last game, I'm loving that. They have Sejuani, really strong. Sejuani Lissandra, like the CC, is incredible. We saw that the Zoe was forced to kind of take the cleanse, because if you're not, you're just going to have a terrible time in that lane. But it also means that no matter how far that match progresses, if you don't get a QSS, you're going to have a terrible time as any of the immobile carries, because yes, Tara can can keep you alive for a little bit longer, but still, you're a Sona. Like, you're just not going to get away in the end from the combination of that glacial tomb the frozen tomb followed up by the glacial prison. It's just so much CC. And then we haven't even talked about like the big scary late game win condition that Vayne is in itself. So maybe I'm going to be... I would love to be proven wrong here, because if this somehow works out and like the Sona pick just comes up huge, then I'd love it. But instead it looks like it will be that AP Sona, as we see that the Spellfields is being picked up, and it's Klepto Sona as well. So maybe... so now I don't...
Did they think they'd picked Ezreal?
They don't, but...
No. So Mao, you said that you'd like to speak to someone from the Preston Invincibles. Well, as we sort of wait for the action to heat up here in Game 3, I'm happy to tell you that I did get an opportunity to speak to someone from the other side of the Rift, and that was Joshua Mulgrew of the Saints. He's the sub for the Saints. I don't believe he's in action in this particular game. However, he was telling me that coming into this game, the team were quietly confident. When I asked if they thought they were going to win, he was predicting a 2-0. That's not happened. It's already 1-1. They're already, at death's door in terms of being eliminated from this tournament. They even think they're capable of toppling either the Pirates or the Claymores, who they expect to be the group favourites, if they manage to catch them unaware, but they accept that it'll be very difficult. They told me that their playstyle was a bold one, that they were going to have some messy games. Maybe not quite as bold as picking a Sona ADC, but certainly the last game, of which we'll get to see some highlights next week, definitely proved that could be true. And my favourite thing about it was what they said about Fraser Fox, their jungler. In closing, he told me, our jungler has a negative IQ, but we love him anyway. It's kind of like our relationship.
Which of the two, it's you and which me?
That's for everybody else to decide. What I do know is that we're going to see both of the junglers starting on the top side of the map. And it's going to mean that Jarvan's got himself a red buff, Sejuani's got the blue, and immediately they turn to the camps on the top side, and it looks like they're both going to be happy to just clear their jungle in the standard way to start things off. To clarify, I'm definitely Fraser Fox in this situation.
I'd love to see some early pressure on Splaff, because that Zoe is, of course, coming into the mid to late game, is going to be one of the main conditions of the Invincibles to find a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, find a big pick on someone like 1u1, as the Zoe just becomes scarier and scarier as the game progresses. That Paddle Star just gets increasingly more damage. We already have an early game play here as Fraser Fox gets into a kerfuffle. I feel like this 2v2 is something that they need to be careful with, but in the end, the Scuttle Grab does get taken, as Splaff was earlier to that fight than Sovnix was.
Jace immediately dashing in, deciding to go for the hammer form, but he's going to take a lot of damage on the back of it as Kennen throws down those shurikens, not quite able to proc any stun. Amazing how many times that Scuttle Crab can almost be a bait for junglers and give away first blood.
And Chaco is also going to go immediately to the bot lane Scuttle Crab, so double Scuttle start is actually quite huge, as you'd expect Fraser Fox to be a little bit behind, as we see Sovnix already on the receiving end of some very unfavourable trades, and the Saints already getting chunked low this early.
Now, you talked about how important it was for Splaff that he'd taken Cleanse into Lissandra. Starting to think that maybe Sovnix needed, because of that Sleepy Trouble Bubble, having a really tough time on this Lissandra in the early game.
And something we haven't talked about, so it is now clear that For You is actually going for the Spell Thieves. You know, what we sell Spell Thieves Clapto, which was really popular for a while until they nerfed it or hotfixed it, because they thought it was such an unfortunate strategy to instead work with their opponents. So now we see that it's Alpha Chinchilla who's going to be picking up all the CS, with the Relic Shield is still somewhat behind, but it's not the absolute worst, as For You is just going to reckon the money with the Clapto procs, and he is still the carry, but he's going to wait with farming. For those of you who might have missed the brief period where like Spell Thief Clapto was a really big thing with Karma, in the top lane.
And one of the things I heard talked about when that got nerfed to high hell was the fact that actually the opportunity was still there for this tactic to work in the bottom lane, because both of the champions were going to be within range of each other, and it looks like the Taric and the Sona are opting into this.
And yeah, you said, well, the hotfix is for solo lanes. We just pick 2 supports, just completely negate that. One of the things about that, though, was that it was really good in getting an immediate lead over your lane opponent, like your direct lane opponent, in a 1v1 scenario. and it allowed you to, kind of punish and outscale in a lot of situations. But you're a Sona, and the opponent is a Vayne. Although Wonyon has been forced to use his barrier, so I'm clearly somewhat underestimating the damage that the Preston Invincible is able to put out here. As the Clutcher box also, the extra awards, the money bags, there's just so much that you can find.
Wonyon steps forward, manages to bait out the stun from Alpha Chinchilla. If we get an opportunity to have a little look at the gold, we'll just see whether or not this is working out for the Preston Invincibles bot lane. If they're getting any kind of early advantages out of the fact that both Taric and Sona in a way are getting their own type of farm. We'll hopefully be able to bring you those gold numbers in just a moment. But we can see that there's already a near 1,500 gold leave for the Invincibles, so possibly some of it is from that bot lane.
And yeah, there's also the mid lane and the jungle where we see some big CS disparities. Splaff putting on so much pressure here on Sovanix is quite surprising because traditionally Zoe doesn't do that well in the early game. She does outrage Lissandra, so if you're not able to play around that it does become kind of rough, is what we see here as well. The teleport is going to alleviate that a little bit as we see the question mark pings go down, so we don't know where Slav is going. And Wonyon at least able to pick up a lot of the wave here, but in the end I still feel like they're going to be a slight CS disadvantage. And Identim in the top lane with the Jace on his first item spike, he needs to make it a big, but it is again from Fraser Fox.
Alrighty, it's going to be the Sejuani forcing the flash immediately. Jarvan is here for the response, but it's going to be already the Sona having gone out. Flag and Drag is going to force a flash in retaliation from the Vayne. Both of the ADCs have used their flashes, and whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, no first blood is going to come from this encounter.
And on that note, we see that in the end, no one really gets taken down. There's still such a big gold lead though, and that's kind of worrying me because I do feel like the Saints, they have a late game win condition, which they can rely upon, but it's not necessarily the most reliable, as we see Sovanix mostly avoiding a gank. If Cataclysm was available, it might have been a problem, but fortunately for him, Jacko is still level 5. But if these picks of Lissandra and Jace don't really find that mid-game stride, so we're looking from now till, say, level 11, level 12, 13, once they get the second point in the ultimate in case of Lissandra, when they get some more levels in the Shock Blast for Jace. That's really when they need to make that mark, because yes, Vayne is going to scale well, and you're going to have a nice front-to-back team fight with the Sejuani and some Peel, but those picks are going to lose their efficiency. Well, I feel like the mid-game from the Preston Invincibles then starts to ramp up as you get the Slicing Maelstrom available. Sona, I assume, is going to get an item at that point as well, and then once Splaff hits his first item, it's still going to be quite scary for them.
Two very nice things just happened for the Sona there. One of them was she was running really, really low, but courtesy of that Q, she was able to pick up a mana potion, and also she got the upgrade onto the Spell Thief's Edge already at the 7-minute mark. So we still need to see just how this is going to relate to the scale later on in the game, whether the damage will be coming out from the Preston Invincibles or not, as the dash is good enough from Wonyon to stop the stun going through, gets the Silver Bolt proc onto Alpha Chinchilla and forces back the Preston Invincibles. But what we do know for certain is they are definitely managing to get themselves a decent bit of gold in the pocket. 1,500 gold, still the advantage for the Invincible squadron.
And these initial team fights are going to be really key to me. Cardiff Saints already operating at such a disadvantage kind of scares me, as said before. They don't hit this timing window. Wonyon gets taken low.
It's going to be the Ignite put down onto Wonyon and no flash available for him, and that's why he goes down as the Cataclysm comes in. Teleport is going to be the retaliation. This one is going to be Identim joining, beautifully timed crescendo, and here comes the cannon, the Slicing Maelstrom. Jace has been able to pick up one kill onto the turret. This is a really, really messy fight. The double kill there for the Jace. Lissandra with a Frozen Falls, now trying to do what she can, but Zoe's come in and taken down the Jace. 2 for 2. The first blood went over the Preston Invincibles. The Sleepy-Tron bubble is going to land onto the Nami. She gets absolutely obliterated as Zoe comes down, gets a double kill. The mid laner of Preston Invincibles well and truly rolling now.
And you got to imagine that if Fraser Fox was able to join that fight at one point in time, it would have ended well. It looked like the Cardiff Saints were able to just run away with everything there. Yes, they sacrificed a single laner, but you're going to take that if you can get your Jace so far ahead. But now with Splaff picking up a double as well, I don't think that's going to be worth your while at all, because Identim is not going to have as big an impact as we see Fraser Fox here trying to 1v2, misses the ultimate, is maybe able to get out, but the Sleepy Trotter bubble is going to be the end of him.
Damage for days coming out of Splaff, who hadn't even recalled on the back of the double kill, now got another kill on top of it, as well as some nice fancy double buffs.
In the end, not great for the Cardiff Saints. They're in a situation where they're now 2k gold behind, and the Mountain Drake is about to get picked up by the Preston Invincibles. And it doesn't even really have anything to do with the composition that we see coming out here, as we now see that Fuyu is in fact quite far ahead.
500 gold.
Although, of course, it's going to be aided by the fact that we just saw them pick up a sizable gold lead in the form of those kills and the assists that they were able to pick up. But the problem to me is this is just a team fight and synergy issue.
So much damage out of Splaff.
Splaff is like, the problem is this is what you'd expect Zoe to do once she finishes her item, but this is just double Doran's Ring and Lost Chapter Zoe. This is only going to get worse. Like, Splaff is going to be an absolute nightmare, and unless Fraser Fox can, as we see here, we see already 2 Mercury threads, and I love that, but that's not going to be enough. They need more. They need a beefy front line, and then there is always the late game for the Cardiff Saints, right? Like, there's the Vayne. At that point, you can just kind of tank the Zoe, because really late game she starts to fall off again. But going into a mid game behind against the team from the Invincibles spooks me a lot. We now see that in terms of scaling, we get the Sona tier as well, so I assume she's going to go for an Archangel staff as well, and we're just going to see full AP Sona, so I feel like at least I now know what's going on in the game, which I like. That's a feeling that I cherish as we see a 2k gold advantage now for the Cardiff Saints, or for the Preston Invincibles rather. The Cardiff Saints, they need to like somehow find some opportunities here, because it's not looking good for them, and they need to win this game to stay alive.
A couple of ultimates are going to be used now. That is going to be the Cosmic Radiance trying to keep alive these twin supports, the Taric and the Sona, doing what they can, but Alpha Chinchilla has got his flash available, jumping around, trying to get to safety. He's not even using his flash, trying to do everything he can to help his team, staying alive till the very last second, helping Sona pick up the kill onto Sejuani. Despite the ultimate she used, in the end it is the Invincibles who pick up their 5th kill of the game. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to mean that the Nami is absolutely exploded by Splaff. Meanwhile, a stun is going to land onto Won Yuan. He tried to get a kill, he failed, he died.
And that's the end of that, and I feel like the Cardiff Saints are really playing rattled. There were a couple of opportunities there. I feel like if Fraser Fox was able to really synergize with the rest, because they did split up their damage there, and as a result of that, Alpha Chinchilla was able to get out with just a sliver of health. And they don't want to really hard engage there. They already start disengaging because they know that Splaff is coming. But that also means that Won Yuan and Halsey just kind of like run to the tower. Well, if they were able to actually push that fight, because they still were relatively healthy there, they might have been able to make something with it. But now the Preston Invincibles, it's starting to look like me like they're just going to run away with this game, because Fuyu is now further ahead, is going to have a great back here. Splaff picks up another kill there. The big win condition that we saw last time, this time it's not really seemed to be working out. In terms of CS, it's really hard to match evenly, but we already know there's quite a gold deficit. Archangel staff already finished here, and the Invincibles are looking quite strong.
Going back to that sort of those comments we heard from Joshua Mulgrew, the sub of the Saints, coming into this game, the Saints saw themselves as favourites. They thought they were going to be able to pick the win. They came into the game as the team that were the #1 seed, having gone unbeaten in Group 4. Looking at the Preston Invincibles, the only loss they had was to the Claymores. Now, obviously, they have had a fantastically strong performance, and that's not an embarrassing team to lose to at all. The Invincibles are showing that actually they really can do some work, and it's going to be so hard for the Saints to come back into this game. But that leads me to the question: what? It's been really it's like an itch that I can't quite scratch. Why do we have a Sona instead of an Ezreal? It feels like if they'd gone for this exact same tactic, they could have even gone the Spell Thieves and done everything the same, and gone for the Ezreal along with the Taric, they would have just had so much more damage coming into the late game. Does Sona really bring enough to the table? Is there someone who's going to put the damage out if it's not Splaff?
Well, Sona has an absurd, Sona's win rate, once you get to a certain point in the game, is absolutely absurd. Like, she actually skills really well, as we see as, Yang just gets demolished, is actually able to get out with a nice flash.
Fantastic flash. Gets the stun out of the Slicing Maelstrom, and it's able to get himself to safety, not giving any kills away. Redemption is going to come in here in the top lane, trying to remove a few of these minions so they can't take too many plates, but it certainly looks like the turret might be falling soon, but not as quickly as this one in the bottom turret.
Tried to match it, but they're just not able to.
Go back to Sona's win rate.
So, Sona's win rate, I think past 30 minutes, is absolutely absurd, and you see the Vayne getting first pick there, and you say, you know, just going to throw you a curveball, and we're going to go for this Spell Thieves Clapto composition that was just kind of nerfed, but not in the lane that we're going to run it. So, yeah, it doesn't really matter. And full AP Sona is a complete nuisance, because what Sona does is she makes it so incredibly hard for your team to get stuff done. There is a lot of hard engage, but Sona kind of alleviates that. She brings so much sustain to your team. The ultimate fits in really well with the Cataclysm, and with the Slicing Maelstrom.
Multiple knockups here. The Cosmic Radiance channeled by the Taric, trying to do his best to keep the team alive. Unfortunately, with 4 members up against 2, this could mean the death of this twin support bot lane. Well, first one to drop down is indeed going to be the Sona, as she is sent into frozen thraldom by the Lissandra. The kill now picked up by Wonyuan. So crucial for the Cardiff Saints to get those 2 kills.
They need these opportunities as Sleepy Trouble will hit, but I think Pedestal was already used, so Next is going to be fine there. And this time, though, what we saw happen the last time, this time the Preston Invincibles, they blow up so much, because you saw multiple flashes being used there just to make sure that we need to take them down now. And you saw how surprised they were to sustain the Cosmic Radiance, actually kept him alive for such an incredible long amount of time. As still the Mountain Drake gets lost, but I don't think with Splaff as strong as he is, you're ever going to be able to contest that, unfortunately. And now what you're looking for, more of these overextensions, because Sona and Taraka, of course, they are quite immobile, and I don't think we're going to see them do this again, because this is the exact way that they lose. If they don't do this, in terms of scaling, I think they're going to be just fine, and their mid-game, like for the next 25 is an exaggeration, but for the next 15 minutes, they're going to be in absolute control of this game, and we're going to have to wait. Like, Wonyuan didn't even finish his Blade of the Ruined King. He just went immediately for QSS. I can't even blame him. Fraser Fox hasn't finished Cinderhawk yet. The only one who has some items really is Identum, and he's already starting to approach the point where he's going to start falling off as the chase, and it's just looking rough for the Cardiff Saints. They have some win conditions, but the Preston Invincibles early game is impressive to me.
And they're making the most of it by taking all neutral objectives they can. That's going to be the Herald picked up. Preston Invincibles with 2 Mountain Drakes to their name, able to take these objectives so very fast. Fraser Fox just going to get spotted out to buy that ward, the control ward, to cancel out the vision, but Splaff is going to be able to clear that one so quickly. Going back to your comments in regards to the win rate, I completely see your point, and I accept Sona as a viable champion. However, surely most of those games that you're talking about, that high win percentage she's got a normal ADC that she's supporting alongside it. There's no one that really fits that role in the Preston Invincibles.
Yeah, but you don't really need to see... Like, you can still siege because you have the Zoe, right? Because that's the thing, like, if you have the
Double
mana,
sustain,
which I think you're going to be fine with, as we see Halsey needing a very
in the middle of nowhere now.
Here. Yeah, he can delay the inevitable, but I don't really see him getting out of here, especially with Jacko just cataclysm on top of his head.
Hey, he made them burn a couple of ultimates.
That's nice. It's not
An ultimate.
It's cataclysm, but it's a strong ultimate, right? But the Sona also slots into the team fight composition that you're running, as we see for you again getting taken here.
So many ultimates being used to final out the Cosmic Radiance, the Glacial Prison, and now we are going to see in comes Savonix
QSS,
locking down
paying dividends.
the Sona, and now Wonyuan helps the Lissandra to pick up her 2nd kill of the game. 2-0-3 for Savonix on this Lissandra, trying to show the team with the unorthodox composition that actually Standard can really be best.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, it fits nice into... But this is the exact reason, like what we're seeing here, is why it's not too popular, as Fraser Fox, a little bit of miscommunication goes in while his backline's getting hammered by Jacko, and I don't think he's getting out of here alive.
The Ignite is burning, and as we see Bristle trying to run Trundle to safety, one more hit should do it. Jacko perhaps going to be able to throw down the EQ and dash away from... Oh, Mao's getting excited. Oh, Jacko steps away. The slow is there. Fraser Fox not quite going to escape. The jungler combat ends with the death of the Sejuani. Bristle is dead, I'm afraid. Splaff is going to stay alive on the back of this, and I do believe that in the end it was just a really, really protracted fight that led to a 1-0 in favour of the Preston Invincibles. The next dragon in just under 2 minutes is going to be an Infernal Dragon, and my word, Splaff is going to hurt if he gets that.
He already does, Stan. Like, Splaff is already so painful.
So right. I can't even argue with you on this one.
He's at 160 CS, he's 4-0-2, has a big bounty on his head. Jacko also, with these flanks just continuously coming in, going for a more damaging Jarvan build, which he can really afford to, because once you're ahead, you know, like, buying some damage is completely fine. You don't need to go for tank Jarvan if your opponents don't live. And now Lichbane Sona actually hurt like an absolute monster, and as I keep trying to say, but I keep getting interrupted, the team fight from the Preston Invincibles is incredible here. Either you get a pick from Zoba, even if you don't, you have your Sona, your Jarvan, and your Cannon ultimate. You just lay them on top of each other, and you're never going to lose your team fight, which is why I love the early pickup here from the QSS, even though it means that, like, Wonyuan, he's not going to do any relevant damage until he finishes at
The
least
Bork.
his Rage Blade. No. Bork is not enough. Like,
Right.
Bork isn't going to do anything here. He needs the Rage Blade as well until he's really going to be able to
So
start
that's
chunking
not going to be
people.
until at least 25 minutes.
Yeah, no, probably even longer. And that's my point. Like, we can talk about a hypothetical late game where Fraser Fox is able to build a lot of MRs. We see him now. I assume is going to be a Spectre Scowl, just going to go into the Spirit Visage, which is really good.
Perhaps even adaptive.
Yeah, I won't mind it either.
Or Abyssal Mask.
There's anything that brings you MR. Honestly,
All the
like
MR.
Adaptive Helmet, just get all of those. But that's so far away, and you're just never going to get there with how strong the Invincibles are currently playing, with like the team fight that they have, because they can just start looking for things, and then maybe Fuya gets taken down, but then you still have Splat. There's just so much damage here.
Alright, and there is even more damage now because the Infernal Dragon has been secured. The Accelerated Shock Blast arrives just too late. The Cardiff Saints are 5,000 gold behind, and the Group 4 winners find themselves in a real struggle against the Group 2 runners-up.
The more I think about it, the more I kind of like. It's also they pick it and it works. So I'm like trying to you're trying to wrap your head around it. But I understand what you do. You have like a siege composition. You have the Tara gives a lot more survivability to the Sona. I still feel like blind picking picking a Sona this early should get punished. But this is the third game in a best of 3. Like, as the Preston Invincibles, you can also look at this game and say, well, I don't feel like Fraser Fox has had the best of performances. I don't feel like Sovanix has been roaming a lot. And that all of a sudden means, like, if Sona doesn't get pressured in lane, she's not going to because the Fane was already locked in, then Anami doesn't put that much pressure out either. So you're going to win that 2v2. Then disregarding Sovinox and Fraser Fox as real sources of pressure, then all of a sudden you can say, well, I feel like we can get away with this really greedy pick. We can opt back into this Frostmancy strategy that was popular for a little bit and still make it work. There's not even a real CS disadvantage anymore, and you gotta mind that like Fuyu is so far ahead in terms of gold here.
Yeah, and it's the insane thing about that CS advantage you're talking about there, you've got to remember that in the opening minutes, Sona had sub 10 CS for so long because she was abusing Frostmancy. Now she started actually getting the CS on top of all the gold she got earlier on. Meanwhile, this Baron has been started up by the 3 members of the Cardiff Saints, but this is a dangerous game. The Flag and Drag is going to knock up the knock up Sejuani. She does drop down to the damage coming in from Zoe. Meanwhile, Kennen and Jace are dueling it out in the bottom lane. Jace does have the teleport available if he decides to try and join a fight. Kennen unfortunately does not. So Niangi trying to keep Jace around for as long as possible while the rest of the team are doing this Baron. Splap is clearing out the vision, and this looks like it could just be about to go over. With 2 Mountain Drakes, it's gone.
Fuyu can just keep the rest of it. Look, it's 22 minutes. Everyone's just full health, and this is what Sona brings to you. And you just can't get in there.
Sona Tarek double heal. OP.
It looks like the Cardiff Saints just give that up freely, but what do you expect? You don't have the Smite available, and if Splaff hits Sleepy Trouble, you're just gone.
Well, Niangi now looking for the 1v1, but with Slicing Maelstrom already gone, Niangi finding herself in a bit of trouble, but the stun just underneath turret. The greed from Identon costing the Cardiff Saints. Niangi with the solo outplay. Looked like it had got all wrong, but unfortunately, Identon stepping into danger. Going down, and now it's a 4 versus 5. Your teleporting member is dead for 25 seconds, and Niangi and the rest of the team can get whatever they want.
Niangi doing his best. Kenny Loggins impressing Zane. Welcome to the danger zone. As Identon steps forward just a little bit too much. I love the disengage there with the hammer as he knocks away the cannon who's in his Slicing Maelstrom, but unfortunately, then he just gets greedy, and I can understand that, right? Because I've got to imagine as the Densby you feel like you need to carry here, because if you don't get the solo kill, what do you really have left in this game? And now we're looking at Preston Invincibles. They're up almost 10k gold. It's like upwards of 9.5k. Sona's going to be finishing at Rabadon soon. Splaff is an absolute monster. Jacko's building towards a GA, and once she has that, this is the problem. Now that gold disadvantage, that mid-game spike that we're talking about, has been hit so hard by the Preston Invincibles that I never see the Cardiff Saints recovering from this, because they need to find the perfect team fight repeatedly, but they've reached a point where Wanyuan now has the... Like, if he had a Rage Blade here, I would say yes, go for it, but Fraser Fox also hasn't ages, he's building, I assume, towards that Lockheed, and it's also just isn't enough.
not enough at the moment. Unfortunately for the side of the Invincibles, it might be a trap about to be spawned because Jacko finding himself condemned against the wall. But we were loving it for a moment, but Jacko is completely safe after the condemned does nothing more than pin him against a wall. There is no engage coming through from the Cardiff Saints. They are trying to stall this game. You used the word never a moment ago, Mal. You said you don't see there being a chance of them ever coming back into the game.
There's never, Stan, but it's such a sizable gauntlet for a composition that is going to be really good for like at least the next 10 minutes. So with how the game has been going, I suppose we see Talpa coming there from Fuyu, who's going to make his way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and he's heading towards Sammy's. With the Lich Bane, he's going to just melt turrets, because that's something that you asked me about earlier. Like, their siege is already good because of the sustain that you have from your double support composition, the Zoe. But you also have a Lich Bane Zona, and it's not an AD carry, but if you just get your Lich Bane procs, it's also not going to be really bad at pushing turrets, and if you have a Baron buff, none of that really matters.
Baron's still up for a little while, and it is on the side of the Invincibles to see just how much of the base they can crack. Savonix maybe caught out a little bit of trouble, uses his trail, but is just not able to take it. Taken down by the Zoe, courtesy of a Caspism from Java. Now there is the option for this inhibitor to get dropped down as the Invincibles step forward, taking that first significant structure. The inhibitor is going to fall almost immediately after, and just how much can the Invincibles get from this push? They want to keep on going. They've got the Nexus turrets in their sights. Tuyu is just so completely confident, stepping forward, laying down the damage. That Lich Bane proc is amazing. It's going to be the crescendo onto the Vayne, who has to flash away. The jungler drops down. The Jace and the Vayne are sent for the hills. Despite the final hour, there's nothing the Vayne can do. And with the most outrageous of compositions, not just gems that are truly outrageous, it's the Preston Invincibles. We are going to see the cannon go down, but one Nexus turret already destroyed. The Nexus itself surely will fall in just a couple of seconds' time as the Cardiff Saints get eliminated by the Preston Invincibles.
And the reason, like, this is the first team fight that we've seen in roughly, I want to say, like 12, 15 minutes. And the game still looked like relatively slow because we hadn't seen a single team fight yet. Because good call as well by the Cardiff Saints, you know, give up the Baron because you just can't contest it. But that gold lead had been ballooning up to this point, and now you see what happens when an actual team fight goes through. I think that was you saw Vayne's health was full, and I think it was literally just Sona pressing Q and getting like a Lich Bane and Q empowered auto attack off. The health was gone. It's just nothing they can do at that point. And the early game was so impressive to me from the Invincibles. Bringing back Kleptomancy in a lovely way, you know, and working out great for them. And legitimately, if you're another team, I don't expect to really be afraid of this, because if you know it's there, right, like, you can punish this. But if you don't get punished, this is what happens.
Twitch chat, get it out there, tell all your friends, make a Reddit thread. Sona APC is here to stay in the bot lane, and they have made the Frostmancy tactic work beautifully. I expect to see nothing other than Sona APC for the foreseeable future in solo queue. Great. Cheers for that, Invincibles. Well, we have got the opportunity now, having seen both the Clyde Claymores and also the Preston Invincibles book their places in the semi-finals. We can find out who their opposition is going into the semi-finals next week for Arena Clash. It is, of course, going to be the Pirates, who have taken the win against the Humber Hunters. They will face off against the team we just saw. Will they have an answer for the AP Sona?
I see we just have 2 O's, but we know that the Saints did not win 2-0 against the Invincibles. This was their prediction. But it's of course not what happened, because it was a 2-1 win, but I think all the other ones actually were 2-0s.
Well, another maybe slight surprise is that York Vikings lost out against the Lionhearts. The York Vikings, who were of course the first seed from Group 3, they dropped down to the 2nd seed. That was of course a team who had previously only lost to Pirates, so they are themselves very strong, but that is London facing off against Clyde. It is going to be Portsmouth against Preston next week in the semi-finals.
Where are the finals again? What are these teams fighting for?
I don't know, Mal. What are they fighting for?
I'm asking you. You're supposed to have the old answers.
Oh, I've got all the answers. I was trying to give you a chance to look smart for a change, Mal.
Missed it once again.
Of course, the grand finals will be at Insomnia, which is coming up over the Easter weekend. It will be held at the NEC. It is the UK's biggest gaming festival, I believe, and it is going to be absolutely off the chain this year, including the grand finals, which we'll see for Arena Clash. There are all sorts of other wonderful events. The Bring Your Own Computer, weekend with just LAN party for days, basically, which is wonderful, with all sorts of other games being played. The conclusion of all the Arena Clash tournaments, whether that be FIFA, Rainbow 6 Siege or Overwatch. Tekken doesn't count. But don't tell Stu I said that.
He'd be very... He wouldn't be mad. He'd be disappointed in you.
That's it. Yeah, I think that I may have accidentally booked a fight between the Tekken casters and the League casters. You got my back, right, Mal?
So I want to have a discussion on what game we're actually going to do this in. Or wait, is it we're doing a fight in a game?
Oh, IRL.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable.
There you go.
I'm good.
See you at Insomnia.
See you at Parkin.
And hopefully I'll see lots of you out there at Insomnia as well, because like I said, it's just a wonderful event. The finals of this and all of the other games will be held there on top of all sorts of other wonderful action. And, if you don't do anything else, you get to meet this wonderful man if you go as well.
And, I mean, you're going to be there as well, right?
Yeah, so that's a downside. Sorry.
You get me the duo, which is, I guess, a thing.
Team Grey Mal.
Is that what we're going for?
Yes.
Not Cronhart. I kind of like that.
I think that we need answers on a postcard, please, to let us know what our casting duo name is. And maybe we'll read out some of those next week. And next week we will be bringing you all those semi-finals, which we just saw up on the screen. Just a reminder, it is going to be the Lionhearts going up against the Clyde Claymores, and it is going to be the Preston Invincibles against the Portsmouth Pirates. All that and more action, including one phenomenal play that I promised you that we'll only get to see next week. And it is going to be the last we see of the Cardiff Saints in that highlight play, sadly. They are heading home for the split. On go the Preston Invincibles. On go the Clyde Claymores. Congratulations to both of those teams on stream today. I've been Stanley Greyheart Barker. This has been Maritz Chronicler Mewson. We'll see you next time.
I was a big traditional sports player when I was younger. I have an injury, which means I can't do this anymore, and it sort of fulfills that team aspect for me. I really enjoy gaming from a young age anyway. My name's James Cowling. I play for Bristol Strugglers, and my favourite game is League of Legends.
I've always played competitive games. I started Call of Duty and went through to play CSGO. And when I started playing League, I just wanted to get better and needed to test myself. My name is Jermaine. My tribe is Bristol Smugglers. My favourite game at the moment is League of Legends. For the most part, currently I'm just coaching, but when I do play and sub in, I play jungle.
As a sort of big team sports player, I really enjoy being part of the competition of the Clash. I really look forward to representing Bristol Smugglers and helping the team out get some victories as well.
Been going, I think, for 4 seasons in a row now, and I've enjoyed it every time, whether the seasons I didn't directly play, I was just there just to enjoy the atmosphere and just watch them happen. It's really cool. It's quite nice to kind of grow friendships between the different tribes and even rivalries.
You come down, you'll meet some really nice people who are easy to talk to, similar sort of interests, which you don't always get to meet up to at sort of school and your standard activities. So just come down and enjoy yourself. It's the most important thing.